Welcome back home, LLGs, and thank you for tuning in to Fence TV. How's it going? I'm your host, Chris, also known as Fence. Welcome to the only show where you can share your story and be part of ours in the friendliest of company on Twitch. I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday today. This is our second stream of the week. Wow. Haven't done that in a whole long time. Oh, you kind of lost me there for a second. There we go. Let me fix this up. It's been a little while since we've done multiple streams in 1 week, so it's a good sign. Looking forward to getting back to it. We got a good show for you today. We got, as far as the games are concerned, some more Nier Replicant coming up here soon, and of course we've got a new question of the day in the upper right-hand corner. As usual, every single day that we're live, we have a new question, so make sure you're coming back on by and come share your story and be part of ours. So this week's question, rather, this Saturday's question, is actually a viewer question, and it comes from our friend Ash. And Ash is asking all of us if the COVID had never happened. I think it actually is supposed to be if the COVID pandemic never happened. Would your life be better or worse at this very moment? Feel free to share your thoughts and look forward to hearing them throughout the show today. I'm going to take a second to correct that because I think I'm actually the one who messed that up. Here we go. There it is. Yeah. I feel like most of us can say that it would have probably been better, right? Right? Like our lives would probably be better if COVID hadn't happened. And I think that, there's some obvious reasons why. It affected some people's jobs. It affected some people's academic careers. Obviously, some people got sick. Some people have lost family and friends. And, there's a lot of sucky things that have kind of come with it. Depending on who you are, specifics will change, of course. This is gonna sound weird. It's gonna sound really weird with today's question, because I'm very much a person who, it's easy to focus on what's wrong, but I like to focus on what's right. And so I'm kind of gonna not go out on the limb and say that it's a good thing that this pandemic happened, but I will say that I think there are some positives that came alongside the negatives. And so I'll probably talk a little bit more about those later in the show. But I'm interested in hearing your guys' response to this one, because, yeah, I think that the pandemic affected all of our lives in a lot of different ways. So feel free to share today. It's open forum, as usual. No judgment, no stigma, no bad vibes attached to anything. So feel free to share as much or as little as you would like. Let's see who's hanging out in the chat with us today. CJ, what's up, man? Welcome back. Good to see you, buddy. I saw that you got a couple messages over to me that I haven't checked yet, and I'm so sorry, but I'll get to them soon. We had a busy couple days. Today, actually, we spent most of the day car shopping. Or I should say, we probably spent most of the day just in the dealership trying to pick up one car. There was a lot of things that we had to do, and it took some time. But we got it, and it was awesome. Jen is the proud owner of a new vehicle. She's pretty stoked, but I'll let her tell you all more about that. Reggie, what's going on, my friend? Welcome back home. Good to see you. Angry Ranger, same to you, dude, and thank you for the sub love. Oh, man. 15 months. What? And on a 6-month streak. Thank you so much for the love, man. I appreciate it. Hey, enjoy those emotes, too. We got a few new ones if you hadn't seen them, Ranger. Check them out. Thanks, CJ. Jen has a mixed answer to this question. I believe it. I believe it. Mine's kind of mixed, too. I'll share my thoughts a little bit later. Reggie's going to give his answer when he comes back. Sounds good. Banny DeVito's gonna be missed. Gonna be missed. He was a good lad. He did good work. He took you very far. Share some of your memories with Vanny with us. What were some cool adventures that you and Sir DeVito went on together? A salute to him. You know, we're gonna have to honor his memory one of these days. One of these days soon. 7 cannon salute. That's 8. That... And he gets an extra cannon. Yeah, oh, he was your tour van when you were in Ion Attraction. Yeah, oh my gosh. The stories from that trip alone have to be incredible. He saw way too much. Yeah. He was the ultimate road buddy, right? Ultimate road buddy. Yeah, that's pretty cool actually. Let's see, you went on tour, you took him like all the way over to Denver, Colorado from like central Pennsylvania, right? I guess we're more eastern Pennsylvania actually. So, I mean, that's a long way to drive. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, you got it, Ranger. I figure not everybody's always checking them out. We haven't had a ton of emotes for very long, so let all you awesome people who are going above and beyond to kind of support what we do here. Gotta make sure that you know that. Because they're pretty awesome. All of them were actually done by Faintest of Hearts, too, who is also responsible for the graphics and stuff on the channel and the panels and everything like that. So she was super kind and put her back into it, made some really awesome artwork for us to showcase here. Colorado Springs and back. Wow. Okay, close enough. Springs is right there by Denver. It's not that far away. I mean, I guess it depends on how you declare what is that far away. It's like what, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Denver? The ride back was terrible? Blizzards for 2,000 miles. Oh no. Oh no. That's right, you guys had to take that trip in shifts, right? Like different people were driving at various times. Kind of like what we did when we drove all the way out here. Man, so you've actually taken that drive 2 times. That's amazing. Joe had to go back to teach it. That's right. That's right. I remember you telling me about that. That's so what? Didn't make it back in time. I can imagine. When you're having to fight the blizzards and you're dragging a trailer and you're in a big Honda Odyssey. Yeah, 2,000 miles of ground to cover. I can't imagine that you're gonna do so very efficiently. Joe is the bass player for Ion Attraction, which is Faintest of Hearts' band that she used to be in. And he also happens to be a school teacher, which is like one of the coolest combinations of things ever. Musician and teacher. It's amazing. I think that he always tells us stories about how like his kids are like a fan of his music, or like he'll hear them like humming or singing the songs in the hallways and stuff like that. And thinking about it, I'm like, that has to be such an interesting experience, like just an interesting feeling to have whenever that happens while you're at work. That's pretty cool. They stalked you guys for a while? Well, they should. They should. You guys made very good music. Still on several of my playlists. I listen to it pretty regularly, actually. And I've gone in and out of a lot of different bands over the years, but I still listen to your guys' music. So what's been going on with everybody this week? I know that we just saw each other a couple days ago, and today's stream was a little bit impromptu. I didn't get much of a chance to announce this week's stream, or this week's Saturday stream, because honestly, I forgot. Normally, I post on Twitter or say something on Discord ahead of time, but didn't really cross my mind earlier today because we had so much different stuff happening. But some of you guys I didn't get to see on Thursday. So I'm interested in hearing what's going on. I've had a pretty big week. I will share a little bit about my week. I'm kind of tired of talking away from the microphone here, so I'm gonna move you guys a bit closer. Everyone, bring your ears around, Fancy. We gonna get up close and personal. There we go. Okay, so this week marks the first. Well, I had the first day yesterday of my new job as a Call for Change and Youth Care Coordinator, which is a mouthful, I know. But basically, we are working with people in the mental health care system to advocate and provide better supportive services for youth and young adults. And it is so awesome. I am so excited to be doing this kind of work. I didn't really think that I was going to be doing something like this so soon after starting my peer support career. So those of you guys who don't know, I actually got certified as a peer specialist last October in 2020, and started working out in the field and helping community members out, setting goals, trying to just walk with them where they're at and support them to where they're trying to go, both literally and metaphorically. And it was awesome. It's been a very rewarding experience. I've got to meet a lot of amazing people, hear a lot of stories. I've got to, just be there while people are celebrating victories, or, help them out and support them while they're going through challenges and difficulties. And it's been pretty amazing. I thought that I'd be doing it for much longer. I mean, I'll probably still go and do it more. I mean, obviously, I love doing it. I do it here. But, I expected to be doing that specific job, like as a case manager, for quite a while longer. And the only reason I'm not doing that is because this youth care coordinator position came about. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, I have to try that. Like, that's awesome. Actually, maybe it wasn't so straightforward. I was really interested in it, but I was kind of nervous about setting my foot in the door. And I actually talked to some friends and to Jen about it, and had to get a little bit of encouragement to kind of put myself out there because I didn't think I was qualified. And what do you know? Here I am. It worked out. So it's pretty awesome. So it's amazing that this is only happening a year into me doing this work, though. So I figured I would have, been in the same spot and just doing some supervisor stuff eventually before I got into anything like this. So you never know what the universe has in store, LLGs. Put yourselves out there. Say yes to life. Take opportunities where you can have them. And if a door, if you come across a door during your journey, take a chance to try to open it. See what happens. Hey, Garrett, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back home. Good to see you, man. How are things going on your side of the fence? Your side of fence? There's supposed to be a "the" in there, I promise. But what's going on, man? I haven't seen Garrett here in a little bit. It's always good to catch up. We're gonna be playing some Nier Replicant here soon. It's coming up quick. You're a little bit under the weather. Oh no, man, I'm sorry about that. But I either survive or turn into something fitting to Halloween. Perfect. Adapt and survive. That's what it's all about, man. Even if that adaptation is succumbing to decomposition and zombification, it's okay. It's October. You get to walk the earth for at least 31 days a year, every October. I do hope that you feel better soon, though, Garrett. It sucks being sick, man. I hate that. Any idea what you got? Is it manageable, at least? Reggie says, I don't know, man. We always only see one side of you. Like, what if Vince is just a cardboard cutout this whole time? I've always been a cardboard cutout, Reggie. Always have been. They just figured out how to animate me really, really well on camera, but really, it's just a still of me like this. And they figured out how to do some really amazing work. You gotta hand it to these 3D modelers like CJ these days, man. They know what they're doing. Garrett says, yeah, man, Chris, I usually see your stream half asleep because I got kind of used to a more normal rhythm, you know? This sleep at night, awake at day thingy. I think that's what people do, right? Like, they hang out during the day and like exist and live and do things. And then at night, they like lay in a horizontal position, sometimes curl up and lose consciousness for 6 to 8 hours. I think that's what happens at night, but I don't know. It's 2021. What's happening today? Oh my God. All right. It's 2021. People are doing different things. Switch it up, Garrett. You can live by night, sleep by day. Be like Batman. You're like Batman, Garrett. It's an animatronic puppet. That's me. Yeah. Imagine Jin being at a wedding with a large 6-foot cardboard fence. It'll be a happy day. It'll be a good day. I'm a ghost, so I don't necessarily walk the earth regardless. Reggie just floats through life. Be like Reggie. Be ghostly. Why, thank you. I worked very hard on that hair. And imagine animating this. You know, I mean, it's not like, I don't have like Sephiroth locks or anything like that, so it's probably not as bad, but it had to be a challenge. Had to be a challenge. CJ personally animated my cardboard cutout, just for the record. So, you guys need an animator. Reach out to him. Emperor Smokes! What's going on, man? Welcome back. Good to see you around our neck of the woods. How are you doing? How glorious is your smoke, by the way? It's not gonna, like, get us high or anything like that, is it? Because you need a waiver for that. You can't just go around blowing that smoke all over the place. Whoever's animating your hair needs to be paid extra. Believe you me, they're being paid extra. I'm stuttering over all my words today. I have no idea why, but I'm like monitoring it in my headphones and it sounds like I'm having like audio glitches. So if you guys think that my microphone's bugging out, it's not my mic. It's just your streamer. Not like fence, like an actual 6-foot fence. Getting married to some planks of wood. Plot twist. The fence is the bride. By the way, man, Chris, you're in boss mode. You're not even behind chat one bit. Ba-ding! I got the platinum streamer trophy. I'm keeping up with it today, buddy. Yeah. Thank you for recognizing. You're not doing too well today, Smokes. Aw, man, I'm sorry to hear that. What's going on? You, just going through some tough times right now, or what? You're being paid extra in head pats. CJ gets the most head pats. He's a good lad. Either vape, smoke, or your pick. I don't... Listen, can I choose neither? I mean, I guess... Well, I don't know. They're both bad for you. I don't want smoke or the vapor. I'm kind of hypocritical though. Don't jinx... No. He can't jinx me. He can only encourage me. He's gonna keep me on my A game all day today. Those of you guys who are just coming on in, feel free to check out the upper right-hand corner of the screen. We got a new question of the day today. There's a new question every single day that we're live on Fence TV, so come on by and check it out. Today, our question is actually coming from one of our community members in a viewer question of the day. And this one's coming from Ash. Ash is asking all of us, if the COVID pandemic never happened, would your life be better or worse at this very moment? Let us know your thoughts in the chat today. So, well, okay, this isn't my HyperX, but it is a HyperX. This is Jen's. She's graciously letting me borrow it for streams. Just mental crap. Huh, Smokes? That won't be getting fixed anytime soon? Only option that I've got is to tough it out and wait for it to pass. Oh, well, why is that your only option? And what makes you say that it's not going to be getting fixed anytime soon, bud? I didn't steal it. Listen. Listen. To me, not to Jen, okay? She thinks I'm a thief. She's making me out to be a bad person, okay? I would never steal this beautiful, wonderfully desirable headset that is in my vicinity on a regular basis that I do not actually possess, but very much want. I would never do that, okay? You believe me? Oh no. I made myself laugh and had a coughing fit. Oh God. I'm gonna turn into Reggie. The mic picked up none of that because I muted it. Because I, slick. Oh no. Ugh. Made myself cry a little bit. Thank you, CJ. Oh, okay, so you're laughing. I was like, damn, Fitz is the only person to be smiling while coughing a lung out. Well, like I said, I made myself laugh, and then I started choking. And then the fact that I started choking over me laughing at being an idiot was kind of comical to me, so it made me smile. But I was very much struggling for my life. Yeah, it's all that smoke. It's all that smoke. Look what you've done to me, Smokes. You've brought me to my knees. Oh, man. All right, it's gonna take me a minute to recover fully, but I'm like 70% there. Ugh. All right. Emperor Smoke says, throughout the years, I've been taught two things. Trauma of any sort just absolutely sucks, no matter how minor or what way it affects you. And two, I have no capability to regulate my emotions anymore. Okay, so the two things here that you're saying, this is what I'm hearing, is that trauma's terrible. Like, it just sucks. Which I completely agree with you. Trauma is rough. It sticks with you, and it loves to rear its ugly head at just the worst of times. I don't think there's ever any good time for trauma to pop up. And then the second thing, excuse me, second thing that I'm hearing you say is that you feel like you don't have any capability to regulate your emotions anymore. So, you know, if you don't mind me asking, like, why not? Why don't you feel like you have any ability to regulate your emotions? I mean, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I know it's very hard. But why do you feel like you can't do that? You got some anti-cough meds for me, Garrett? Help! I need the cough meds. Medicine that makes you cough more. No! Reggie answered the question of the day saying, to be honest, no, I would not think it would be better because I feel like this last months have actually been quite the experience. It wouldn't necessarily be worse, but I feel like this is an experience that has given me new skills that I think I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Oh, hey, that's cool, Reggie. You know, I was telling everybody earlier on the stream that I was going to try to focus on what's going right as opposed to what's going wrong here, which I understood would absolutely be playing the devil's advocate in regards to the pandemic. But hell, man, you're doing the same thing. So first of all, thank you for validating. And second of all, I'd love to hear it. It's awesome. Share it with us if you don't mind. Like, what experiences have you had during this time that have given you some new skills that you don't think you would have gotten otherwise? Emperor Smoke said, from 2 this morning to now, which is 1637 or 437 for us civilians. Smoke says, I've been swinging between severe depression and severe anger, and now I'm just in that I don't care phase for anything and everything. Be another day or two before I'm out of this. Wow, man. Wow, so that's 14 and a half hours of just swinging back and forth between these two extremes, anger and depression, and that sounds exhausting. That sounds absolutely exhausting. And I'm so sorry to hear that you're going through that right now, Smokes. That's tough. And I know that this doesn't take it away, but maybe it helps to maybe take some of the edge of the loneliness aspect of this off. But you're definitely not alone there, dude. I understand this very well because I've dealt with this throughout a lot of my life. Having bipolar 2, and depression, ADHD. I mean, I'm very used to swinging back and forth, to various emotions all the time. And actually, around the time that you and I met was probably when I was in some of the worst aspects of that, where it just every day was already a roller coaster. But at that time, it was scary. I mean, I was genuinely scared for my well-being and what life was going to look like for me, or how long I was actually even going to make it through, because the swings were so bad, and that was hard. I remember that being exhausting, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get through it and to work with it. I started losing hope for quite a while, and it's kind of interesting to reflect on, though, because what I can say about that and this is in relation to what you're saying is, at those times I felt the way that you're describing yourself feel right now. Especially with the I don't care phase. Man, that was always like at the tail end of those types of days where it seemed like just the emotional exhaustion that came from swinging back and forth between these two extremes all the time just left you depleted. And excuse me, I'm recovering still from the coughing fit. But it left me depleted, and it sounds like it's hard to put into words, because the I don't care phase, I think when people hear it, they just think, oh, it's just general apathy. But I think if I'm hearing what you're saying right, that feeling is like it's almost emotionless, right? Where you can't feel anything, and you kind of wish that you could, and it feels like you're not a person because you don't feel anything whenever you're at that phase. At least that's what it was like for me. If it's different from you, feel free to share your experience. And I'm just sorry that you're going through that right now, buddy. It's tough. But what I will say is that I don't want you to give up hope either, that you'll never be able to regulate your emotions. At those times in my life, I didn't feel like I could either. I felt like something was wrong with me. Something will always be wrong with me. I knew that I had a disease and illness, and that was just what I had to deal with in my life. And so it was probably always going to mean that I was going to feel like this no matter what. And then there was nothing I could do about it. Some of that stuff's true. I will always have to deal with those feelings, but I can also do something about it. And I've learned that through experience and real hard work. And it wasn't easy, and it still isn't always easy. But I want you to have some hope, man. Have some faith in yourself too. And whenever you can, if you feel like it's just really hard, know that I believe in you. If you want to get there, buddy, I know you can. Just don't give up. Easier said than done, especially when you're going through the gauntlet for a long period of time, because it wears you out, man. It wears you out. And I hear you saying too that, you've never been able to regulate your emotions very well. And then you say that you simply lost what ability you did have. You say, so what I'm hearing there is you had the ability. You had the ability to regulate your emotions even a little bit. You still have that. It just might be harder to access right now. And I hope this doesn't sound like I'm trivializing at all or downplaying what you're experiencing, because I'm definitely not trying to do that. But I want you to understand too that you have worked on and developed skills. And I think that as we grow and change in our lives, the way that we have to apply those skills changes as well. And sometimes we feel like, oh, we knew how to deal with this in this way before and it's not working now. Something must be wrong with me. Or I'm just not able to do that anymore because I've become weaker. Really, it's just that no, those things worked. You still know how to do that. It worked for a version of you. And you're in a new spot now. You're in a new version. And that means that your skills and your coping mechanisms and things like that, they have to adapt with it too. You can't do the same thing anymore because it just doesn't work the same way. And that's okay. That's a natural part of life too. It's a frustrating one. Absolutely frustrating. But it's normal. So keep your head up and your heart strong, man. And then feel free to keep talking with us about it here too. You know, I'll keep sharing. I know I kind of went on a little bit of a monologue there too, but just no, I've got your best interests at heart, buddy. Hey, Garrett, man, thank you for that sub love, buddy. I appreciate that. You are a rock star. 12 months. Whoa. That's a whole year of Fence love, man. Garrett, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, man. Enjoy your new emos. You got 4 of them to play with, dude. Share that Fence T love around the universe. The universe needs it. They deserve it. Hey, Lilith, what's going on? Welcome back home. Good to see you tonight. Hey, how are you doing? How are things going in the last couple days? I don't know the correct translation, says Garrett, but its main use is to make sure the slime in your whole nose and in your your whole nose, like your nose hole and general area gets loose and finally gets away. So it's a decongestant. I understand. Yeah, the phlegm, the snot, the green stuff. The ugliest rainbow? That one's new to me. That sounds gross. Oh, man. So Smokes shared some more insight with us earlier, saying that, tie all that stuff that I said in with my severe insomnia. This has been absolutely rampant a few years, and I'm just exhausted 24/7. Say, for whatever reason, my mother or my grandfather came up and got in my face and started screaming at me for no reason. I'd 98% likely just lay them on the floor. I'm in that type of I don't care, and when I'm not in it, I hate being in it. Okay, so it's not just the lack of feeling, but it's also just the lack of caring. I almost said apathy again, but I'm trying to steer away from that word because I feel like that simplifies it too much. But it's this empathy goes out the window. Your compassion, your ability to think of others and to care what people around you are going through, because it's just taking absolutely everything that you have just to be surviving with what you are going through right now. Like, all that just goes out the window because it's just too much. And so if someone, comes and is, offending you in some way, you just have no patience for it, no tolerance for it. That's tough, dude. And I hate being in that position. I understand what that's like too. Those are some of the hardest moments to be in. So just for the record, anybody out there who is listening to this conversation right now who thinks that they might have been where Emperor Smokes has been or have felt like Emperor Smokes has felt, please feel free to offer your insight and to share your experience as well. Or at the very least, just, continue being the supportive individuals that you are. And let's share some love and some positivity there with our friend today. Let's pick each other up, we're going through some tough times out there right now, I think. But that's what it's all about here. You know, we rally. We are LLG. We got each other's backs. So, Smoke says, I've also moved states again. Don't know where I was living last time I visited your channel, but now I'm in South Dakota. Better medically by a long shot. Oregon, New Mexico, and never wanted to run the right test to figure out what's wrong. But we figured out a whole host of things and still finding out more. Wow. So, you know, I feel like this has been coming up a lot lately because I've before I switched jobs, I was going to several doctor's appointments with various people, and there was one person that I was going to the doctor with who's like, I have seen so many doctors about what my symptoms are here, and they were having like stomach issues. And yet they all tell me nothing's wrong, just go home. And, you know, we were talking to a specialist last time that I was in session with this person, and the specialist was like, oh no, here's the procedures we're gonna go through, the tests that we're gonna do, here's what I think it is. And they listed off like 3 different conditions. And we were both like, wow. And my thought there was, not all doctors are cut from the same cloth. Not all doctors are created equal. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. And I think that not all doctors have like the same wherewithal to want to help their patients to the best of their abilities that others will. And it's unfortunate. But, you know, Smoke's story here is making me think the same thing. You know, I went to all these doctors in Oregon and New Mexico and never really wanted to try to get to the bottom of and understand what it is that's going on with you. And now you're in South Dakota, and doctors out there are actually giving you some help and trying to really dig into this thing that you're dealing with. That's awesome. I'm super happy about that, man. It sounds like you're moving in the right direction medically. So, you know, is that to say that your health is getting a little bit better right now as a result, or is it still kind of like in the early stages of digging deep? 12 months and I don't even got a tummy, Garrett. Excuse me? My tummy exists in the void. Lil says, hey, I'm doing okay. Now, me and Jordan were gonna meet up, but he isn't feeling well. And I think I had something to do with him donating plasma on Wednesday. Oh, do tell. What do you mean by that? Sorry that he's not feeling very well, though. That sucks. Hope he feels better soon. Now, come on, man. You don't even need food, do you? Oh, dude. I'm hooked up to the universe's IV. It's a natural IV that goes to nowhere and feeds me with nothing, because that's all I need to survive and thrive. Inject nothing directly into my veins. I can survive forever. Vince, do you think there's a market for ectoplasma? Reggie, I think that if there ever was going to be a market for ectoplasma, it would be because you created it. You know what to do. Smoke says, insomnia is kicking my butt bad and has always brought my mental capacity down significantly. Absolutely, man. Hey, right here. I'm with you too, dude. Insomniac, for real. It can get better. I will say this, it can get better. I think that whenever our mental health is suffering, insomnia gets worse because for some reason life can just be cruel. And the reason I say that is because like insomnia makes your mental health worse because you're not sleeping it properly. Yet when you're suffering from mental sicknesses, you tend to not sleep very well. So it's like this terrible cycle. It's so dumb. It's so frustrating. But it can get better. I remember I used to only sleep for like 3 to 5 hours per night if I was lucky. And that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago that I started kind of getting beyond that. I'm 29 years old now. And I remember being that way for my entire life. Like every bit of my life that I can remember. So, you know, 25, 26 years of just sleeping terrible, you know, and just kind of pushing through my day. Now, I had a lot of victories during those years and a lot of successes, and I had a lot of struggles. There was a lot of things that were a lot harder because I don't think I was getting proper sleep. My academics suffered tremendously because of it, I believe. But, you know, if you would have asked me then, hey, Fence, do you think that, you know, you'll ever be in a normal sleep routine again? I'd have told you, hell no, buddy. And I'm fine. I'll be fine that way because this is what I know and this is just what I deal with, and I just gotta suck it up. You know, it's fine. It's just my life. But today, I sleep. You know, I get to sleep late. Don't get me wrong. Like, my sleep hygiene isn't the best. But I think, yeah, I think I'm not necessarily. I'm not gonna say winning, because I don't know that it's as concrete as that. But I am definitely overcoming the obstacles that have been presented to me in my battle with insomnia. And so, you know, I'm starting to see that it can be better. It can get better. To benefit other ghosts, Reggie's gonna be the best ghost benefactor ever. He's gonna be a little ghost gentleman. Lila said, he messaged me Wednesday at 4, saying he was exhausted and not feeling well afterwards, and now he's sick. And I don't think donating plasma helped. Probably not. Probably not. I mean, he's giving blood away, you know? So, I mean, anytime I go to donate blood or plasma, I always end up feeling like a little off afterwards, even if I was like having the best, most healthy day. So, if he was already feeling a little bit under the weather, you're probably right. That probably didn't help. Garrett says, insomnia sucks. Working out or working at all can help me quite a bit, but at the moment I'm kind of sick, so I can't really work out properly at the moment. So Garrett's saying that for him, who also deals with insomnia, working out helps him with that insomnia. Tell me, Garrett, tell all of us, how does working out help you with your insomnia? Smoke said, but one thing that's similar to other states that I've lived in, sleep doctors have tried to push me to a counselor for my insomnia, but to no avail at all. So tell me about that. Like, why has there been no success there? And why do you think that they keep trying to advise you to go speak to a counselor for your insomnia? As to your previous question, says Emperor Smokes, I had to go for my smoke break, so sorry this is a late response. No worries, man. Thanks for squeezing some time in here with us when you can. That's cool. I so far haven't had anything to improve my health. We've only just managed to put a halt to the decline, and it's been 6 months total, not including October of constant tests. Well, I'm sure that has felt like just trials, you know, test after test after test, for 6 months. But man, if you were declining, so like if you're doing this and what the tests that you're doing now have caused it to plateau, dude, that's the first sign of progress right there. You've gone from going down to no longer going down. You're staying right here. I mean, you want to go up, right? Naturally. The end goal is to go up, but I want to point out that like you are moving in the right direction, and that's progress. Even if progress is, you know, it just looks like stopping going downhill. That's where you have to start anyway. I think it's really hard to go downhill and then just start climbing right away, you know? So I'm glad to hear that, at least. 6 months, man. That is no short amount of time whatsoever. But you're doing the work. I mean, it has to be done by somebody. And I'm proud of you for that, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. Lost says, I'm at work, but on my phone. Nice, man. Welcome back home. It's good to see you. Sorry to hear that you have to be at work right now, man. What are you doing? Are you doing house stuff right now? Reggie's gonna be the planner's peanut, but the ghost version. Can you cure all of the sneak energy drink that's in my lungs right now? Can you just purge it all out of me, buddy? You're a ghost, man. You should be able to do this, right? Let's see. Garrett said, exerting energy during the day in general seems to be the key. And this is in response to me asking him about how working out helps with his insomnia. Cool. That makes sense. I mean, if you're spending your energy during the day doing physical activity, then it seems to make sense that towards the end of the day, you'd be more tired and more willing to sleep, more able to sleep. I will add something onto this too. And thanks for sharing, Garrett, that I just thought of, that I learned recently. So, you know, our brains are weird, and sometimes they're pretty smart, right? They're really adaptive and pretty advanced. I mean, they're so adaptive sometimes that they kind of end up shooting us in the foot because we're not aware of just how advanced they are. The reason I'm saying that is because I learned recently that if you struggle in the sleep department, like you have a hard time getting to sleep, one of the things that can be a factor in that is, do you guys know how, like, at night, like as the night starts to wind down, it's still early in the night. So it's not bedtime. It's not when you would usually want to wind down. You still have some hours left to play with before, you have to go to sleep so that you can sleep a proper amount before you get up in the morning to do the next day's tasks. There's this point in the evening where a lot of us will become very tired, but we're like, it's only like 6:30 or 7. We can't go to bed now. There's still so many more hours left in the night. Let's do something with them. So we try to like push through it. Actually, if we had allowed ourselves to rest at those times, it would be much easier for us to get to sleep. And one of the reasons for that is that because as we get beyond the point where our brain's normally telling us, hey, you're tired, you should go to bed, it's bedtime. We're like, no, we push through that. And then it makes our brains a bit overtired. And again, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or anything. I don't understand like the science behind all of this. And so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Look it up for yourself, fact check me. Tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong. Your brain gets tired and we'll push through it. And actually the mechanisms that work to help us ease into sleep more effectively, those things kind of become quote unquote tired as well as we fight against them. And so this is why, you can hit this weird second wind in the middle of your night that keeps you up until like 4 a.m. And yet you still find yourself totally groggy and tired throughout that time. You're not able to focus or be all that productive sometimes. And then it's just frustrating because you can't sleep. Because your brain's ability to regulate sleep has actually diminished because it's been awake for too long. And it's, again, one of those weird, like, counterintuitive cycles that just seems like the universe is being cruel to us, right? But I learned that recently. If we listen to our brains when it's first telling us that we're tired and we go with that, it's easier for us to actually get to sleep if we let that happen than it would be if we waited till later when we think we would be more tired because we've been awake longer. There's just something weird that happens in the brain that, I don't know if it's like signals are getting crossed or something, but it just doesn't work to regulate sleep as well after that point. Very strange. But I just thought I would share that since we were talking about insomnia and sleep and stuff. Let's see. Meds don't work with you in terms of sleep, Smokes? And when you say you have no idea, what was that in regards to? Sorry, I kind of jumped around a little bit on the subject chain here. Oh, man. First time chat from the viewer, Lunar Waffles. What is up? Finding out where the brakes are is always a massive step to stopping the runaway. Anyway, or runaway anything from falling off a cliff. Well said. Well said. This can't be the first time you've said anything in the chat. I feel like I've seen you here before. What's going on? Good insight there too, though. Yes, absolutely. Knowing where the brakes are, knowing how to hit them and stop is a gigantic step. A lot of times when we feel like we're like falling off the cliff or we're sliding down the hill, where does the helpless feeling come from? Not knowing how to stop ourselves, not knowing how to quit falling. When you figure that out, it's massive. It's massive. Thanks for sharing, Waffles. Been here a few times, you mostly lurk. Oh, cool. Well, thanks for saying hello today. Just curious, what changed your mind about today? Yeah, Panda, what's going on? Welcome back home. Good to see you, my friend. How are you doing? You're drinking candy corn G Fuel, Lilith? That doesn't sound nearly as good as my strawberry watermelon sneak. Just saying. Just saying. You want to throw down? You want to throw down with beverages? You're knocking out the pool in a few days? Woo! Ooh, that's a big task, man. When you say knocking out the pool, what is that looking like exactly? Because I know you've done several things with that pool before, but it's been a while since you've gone back to it, right? Let's see. All right. So Smoke said that, one thing that we're puzzling over at the moment is why I'm keeping my current weight. I hardly eat, and what I do is just a little at a time. And back in New Mexico, my weight was explanatory with how much I did eat back in those days. Then I've even cut back on soda. So you've adjusted your diet. You've adjusted your eating routine in terms of like your portion sizes, and even, reduced the amount of soda that you drink, which that's a big step too. Because for one thing, sugar's really addictive. Soda's really addictive. And it's so high in sugar that I think it ends up being a really huge detriment to our health nutritionally. I say that because I remember when I quit soda for a few years, and now I'm kind of like drinking it a little bit every once in a while, but it's very rare. But of all the things I've ever cut back on in terms of like what I eat or drink, soda is the one that probably produced the most noticeable effects. When I stopped drinking soda, I was much more alert during the day. My stomach hurt way less. I thought I had like irritable bowel syndrome because like my stomach aches were constant. And I think it was just because my sugar intake was so high. Because once I stopped drinking soda, that sort of like, I won't say it went away, but the amount that my stomach was upset decreased dramatically. But my focus was better. My energy, my stamina throughout the day was better. And even my sleep got a little bit better. Not as much of a noticeable change in sleep, but everything else was pretty, not night and day, but very noticeable. So, good for you on that. And that was hard too, because I'd want sodas everywhere, man. Everywhere. Everyone has it. It's all over the place. Everyone's always asking if you want one. So cutting back on that, man, I feel like it's pretty challenging. So good for you. But yeah, that's kind of confusing, huh? You've adjusted all those things and your weight's just kind of plateauing. I wonder what's causing that. Lilith's starting to go to bed at 9:40 or 10 o'clock. Like, what is wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. That's adulthood right there. It's hilarious though, because anytime that any of us like start to realize when we first start going to bed around like 9:30 or 10, we're like, oh, we're getting so old. Like Jen and I will be sitting there, like we're like watching, here's an old person sentence. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? We'll be sitting there watching Seinfeld. And at like 9:30, we're like, we're tired. We're tired. I'm really sleepy. Should go to bed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. So old. 29 and 31 is practically ancient. Get the coffins. So silly. But obviously we're very young, but compared to how it is when you're like 16, 17, which is a mental image that I think most of us keep in our brains for like the next 2 decades after we get out of school. We still think of ourselves as 16 or 17. That's like old person behavior, right? Like we would never do that. Oh, it's funny. Oh, how the table turns Agent Pie, what's going on, my friend? Welcome back home, buddy. How you doing this weekend? Ignoring the first sleepiness phase is a trap indeed, reaffirms Garrett. And he continues to say, but when I was referring to workout or work in general, I don't mean just physical work. I mean, you should be moving your body daily to a degree, but mental work that isn't just mundane, easy stuff, but challenging works as well for me. Hey, okay, I'm really glad that you pointed that out, because yes, I would agree with you there. It's not just physical work. Mental labor also expends energy. Anybody who's been working from home during this pandemic can attest to this too. Or anybody who works in an office, who does something on the computer on a regular basis, or if anybody out there does content creation, you know, you're sitting there, you're planning out your content, you're setting your schedules, you're tweaking your settings and trying to troubleshoot everything that might possibly go wrong or has gone wrong in your last streams or videos. And you're trying to map things out. You're probably gonna be pretty tired after a few hours of that. It's draining, which is awesome when you're trying to use those things as tools to help expend energy so that you can sleep better at night. You stay busy, you keep yourself moving, both mentally and physically. It's gonna help you get some rest at the end of the day because your body's literally just gonna be like, hey man, or woman, you better lay down. We got some healing to do. And you're like, I don't want it. It's like, do it right now. Just listen to that voice. Listen to the do it right now voice. And I hope you hear it just like that. But maybe a little bit more muffled. You're going to bed tonight and then you hear my voice, but do it right now. Well, I should probably go to sleep, right? It's bedtime. Okay. I'll try to do it with you because I'm notorious for ignoring that first phase of sleepiness voice. It says, do it right now. And I'm like, no, more Seinfeld. I got relatable 90s sitcom comedy to get really engaged in right now. Shut up, brain. Lilith says, me being anemic doesn't help either. I'm tired all the time, no matter how much I sleep. So it doesn't matter how much I sleep or when I go to sleep. Oh, Lil, I didn't realize that you dealt with anemia. I'm really sorry to hear that. Although now that we're talking about it, I feel like you might have brought it up quite some time ago. Maybe I'm wrong, but still, I had some friends that have dealt with anemia before, and I know that racked their lives pretty hard. Actually, I knew somebody who was in my orchestra when I was in high school, and they just suddenly disappeared after one semester. They never came back, and we all wondered what happened. And we heard that they got sick, so we made a get well card for them, and sent it out to their family. And only came to find out several years later that they had actually dropped out of school and became homeschooled because they had anemia. And it made them so weak that they weren't able to walk from their classes to their other classes with their book bags. They weren't able to just get up the stairs very well. They'd become so exhausted that they had to it literally crippled them. They had to stop and catch their breath, and they'd not call in sick. I've been in the adult world for too long. What did you do when you got sick in school? Go to the nurse's office and they call your parents? I think that's what happened. They'd be doing that all the time. And eventually, it just became too much, and they ended up leaving public school and just getting homeschooled because they couldn't do it. So I know that it can drastically affect your life. And yet here you are being a teacher and helping guide kids and doing cool stuff and, attending Halloween parades and, talking about going to Broadway shows and stuff like that. Lilith, you're like some sort of superhero. Keep it up. You're doing good work. Oh, I see. Lunar is Lost's brother. I had no idea. Well, my friend, welcome on in. Your brother's been an awesome person to be in the community for a very long time. So it's pretty cool. I would say, I was gonna quote Resident Evil 7 with a "Welcome to the Family" reference, but I'm probably the outsider who doesn't have any business saying that in this context. So, but good to finally meet you. Good to see you here. Those hands. G Fuel's better, JK. Never had Sneak before. You don't know? You don't know? Sneak's delicious. I used to drink a lot of G Fuel too, actually. I think I was on the G Fuel kick for like 3 years. Just all the time. I replaced my coffee with it for a little while, and then I was like, man, coffee just tastes delicious, and I missed that. So I went back to coffee. And now I'm on coffee and Sneak. I don't know, G Fuel did this thing to me that after a while that I started getting like really jittery, and I had to step back from it. So I liked the way that it kind of like helped me focus when I was working and stuff. So I was like, should find some other alternatives to that. And lucky for me, everyone and their mother started making G Fuel competitor alternative drinks because it just caught on so well. So I had a lot of choices to pick from, and I tried a few other ones, and then ended up settling on Sneak because Sneak didn't really give me any adverse effects, except because we're talking about it. It added to my insomnia. I could drink a cup of Sneak in the morning, and for sure, like without a doubt, that night I was probably going to be up later. I was probably going to be more active whenever my brain should be getting ready to go to sleep. And I don't really know what it is that would cause that to happen in such a long-term fashion, but like 9 times out of 10, it happens. So it's something that I'm mindful of and try to be aware of, and just work with, you know? But it's definitely caused me to kind of like step back on it a little bit throughout the week. On the weekend, I don't really care, but on the week, I try to not have to dive on the Sneak as much as I normally would have in the past. Diet soda only, Garrett. I know aspartame and stuff, but hey, no sugar. I mean, no sugar is a step in the right direction, but I hear aspartame's pretty not good for your organs and stuff like that. I just know it's not healthy. But hey, you do what you gotta do, you know? You're stuck on that soda kick, man. You just love it so much. I guess it's better. I can't say that it is because I don't know. I feel like it's about the same, just bad in different ways. But I'm no nutritionalist, so I can't speak too in depth on that. Digi, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back home. Happy to see ya. What are you doing today? Let's see. Lost would take 20 to 40,000 to fix the 10,000 and 10,000 to demo, and would only add 10,000 to the value of the house. It's a wreck and safety hazard, so demolition. Okay, so you're just gonna spend 10,000 to destroy the pool, fill it in, get rid of it, and it's gonna add 10,000 to the value of the house to do that. So you're gonna kind of break even on that project then by the end of the day. I mean, so that's good. 20 to 40K to fix it up, man. I don't know if I'd ever want to spend $20,000 to $40,000 just to have a pool in my backyard. Don't get me wrong, I like swimming, but damn, that's too much. Can't justify that. Waffle said, I'm not very good at small talk, but I like saying stuff that brings about an instant mental image, usually in a humorous way, which doesn't lend well to serious combos. But I also play video games with streams on in the background, so sometimes I'm just too busy to say anything, just many little things. You know, I totally understand. Totally understand. Waffles, when I'm not streaming, and, oh, Ashers, thanks for the host, by the way. And welcome on in. Man, you see, we're featuring your question of the day today. Thank you for posting in the Discord server. And before I jump on this other train here with Waffles, anybody out there who wants to put their voice into the mixing pot, so to speak, and ask a question of the day here on stream, you can post your submissions in our Discord channel or Discord server. We have a channel called Viewer QODs. You can post your recommendations or suggestions for questions there, and they might get selected to be featured on an episode of Fence TV. So go check it out. So anyway, Waffles was saying that they don't really do small talk, that they usually watch streams in the background because they're busy playing video games and stuff. And you know, they want to sort of be more humorous or create a mental image with the feedback that they offer in chat. So since it doesn't lend itself much to serious conversations, they tend to kind of keep to themselves. Waffles, first of all, if you've been here before, then, I mean, you already know. We are real good at doing the serious talk thing and doing the casual talk thing and blending those two. I think that's one of the things that makes this place awesome. We can get real when we need to, and we can keep it light as well. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. I think that works well in a community like this. So I hope you never feel like that's like a, what do you call it? Like a barrier of entry for speaking up and stuff here. We're more than happy to connect with you. But I totally get it. Cause like I said, whenever I was, when I'm not streaming and I'm on the computer on Twitch and doing other stuff, I'll throw streams on in the background too while I'm like working on stuff. Or, you know, if I'm just like messing around on my guitar or something, cause it's also here in the office, then I like to have that too. It's a good way to like see what's going on and like watch someone else enjoy something that you're interested in, or hear the conversation and still like stay engaged in what you're doing. That's cool. Also, have you ever studied what's in soda? It's a slight nightmare. Not studied, no. However, I did work at a pizza place once, and we had a soft drink fountain that every once in a while I had to go and make sure was still working properly. And so I learned really quick what's kind of going on behind the scenes with our soda fountains. And it's pretty gross, everybody. Soda fans out there might want to cover your ears for a minute because I might ruin this for you. Or you might not care. Either way, information's coming, okay? So, working at the pizza place, my boss is like, hey, the soda fountain for the Mountain Dew is out of syrup. Can you go change the bag? And I was like, change the bag? What is this, boxed wine? Okay. So I go and open up the closet. They have a whole closet, just like the storeroom where all these boxes are in it. There's like all these like hoses that are attached to the boxes that go like into the wall. And on the other side of that wall is the soda machine and it connects to them. And I'd never seen this before. I was like, what the hell? This is crazy. Some sort of like Frankenstein soda experiment going on here. Anyway, it pretty much was like boxed wine. I went and grabbed the box that was connected to the Mountain Dew hose, disconnected it, looked at it. There's just this like plastic bag that's like siphoned up and dried up like a raisin, or yeah, it was bad. And I was like, that's gross. I went and threw it away and connected it to the other one. And then like the other bag that I connected it to, it was just like, I poked it because I was just like, I'm very tactile. I like to touch things. And I was like, that looks weird. I'm gonna see what it's like. You know, like, I poked it, and it's just like a big bag of molasses. And I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. I know the only thing that makes this not this is mixing it with carbonated water. And I never saw soda the same after that. I was like, damn. Every time I drink soda, I picture that, just like pouring that bag of molasses into my mouth. And I was like, I don't want that. That's so gross. But it doesn't stop me from getting a root beer every once in a while. Not gonna lie. Reggie likes the Baja Blast flavored molasses. Oh man. You go to bed at 5 in the morning, then get up at 8 to go to work. Stinks being 28. I understand, Lil. I understand. Agent Pie just got home from a meetup with friends. Did get a big get together the other night, or last night, to do a big level 20 D&D. Dude, nice. What's a D&D one shot, by the way? In a way that a layman can understand, because I haven't played D&D in, man, like 15 years or something like that. Parents can call you in sick to school. Okay. Oh, you know what? That did happen with them too. That also did happen to them. Yeah, Lilith, I think that you did mention the anemia when you first showed up in stream. It was quite some time ago, so I just kind of forgot. You could take a 2-hour nap and then get up and felt like you never slept. You know, there's interesting things around that, actually. The length of your nap actually will determine how rested you feel when you get up. I was just talking with CJ about this not too long ago, actually, who is pretty savvy on this himself. But, you know, when you sleep in cycles. So there are different phases of sleep. And the best time to wake up is like immediately following a REM sleep cycle. That's your deep sleep, the healing sleep that takes place several times throughout your night. So if you're taking a nap, taking a 2-hour nap might not be such a good idea, but you can take like a 20 to 30 minute nap, and when you wake up, you can feel pretty rested and pretty alert, because that'll be roughly around like when that REM cycle would have completed. But if you wake up in the middle of a REM sleep cycle, or in the middle of sleep cycles where, you know, your brain is like logging away information that it's acquired during your waking hours, that's where the groggy feeling comes from, because it interrupts that phase. And when you're not interrupting that phase, you typically feel more alert when you wake up. So, you know, something to keep in mind. Again, not a doctor. Go look this stuff up. Do the Google, all right, to find out the specifics. But this stuff does come from a sound place, and it works. I mean, hell, I've tailored. Not that I nap very often, but I have definitely tailored my naps to kind of fall more in line with this whenever I do take them. So it's either like sleep for 20 to 30 minutes or just commit to 3 to 4 hours. You know, you feel a little bit better afterwards. Yeah, Waffles, it was highly discouraged when I was a kid too to get your parents to call in sick for you, or to go home sick. But, you know, still happen from time to time. I mean, the ability is there for a reason, because sometimes things happen. Or sometimes you have anemia and then you just have to leave school. I mean, what are you going to do? That sucks. A hopeful bit of that story, by the way, for Lilith and also anybody else here who happens to, you know, experience anemia or knows somebody that does, that can get better too. They actually recovered from their anemia in their adult years, and they're not anemic anymore. So, you know, I think they dealt with it for like 4 or 5 years, and then something happened. You know, they were taking their iron supplements and going to the doctors and stuff like that, and they ended up getting over it, and now they're nice and healthy and live a good life, and, you know, they don't have to live their life around their anemia anymore, and it's awesome. So hopefully that puts some hopeful things in your guys' tool belt there, because that can get better too. Longolian, what's up, my dude? Welcome back. How are you doing? I want to say a name. It's either Haku or Taka, but I always get it mixed up because it could be either one of you. Who is it today, Longolian? You wish you could be in New York City on Broadway? Oh, I was asking you about that in Discord, actually. Are you not in New York? Because the way you were talking about the Broadway shows, it seemed like that was something you used to do on the reg. So I thought that maybe you were close by. Main problem with sugar, says Waffles, is that it is pure. Things like honey are less likely to be banned for you. All the natural balance removed. Oh, so it's like, the sugar that we get, that we put in our food and our beverages and stuff like that, it's like concentrated sugar. So that's why it's different than natural sugar. So it's kind of like making lemonade with lemons, as opposed to making lemonade with like lemon juice from a bottle, which is concentrated. Honored to see my QOD answer. Or QOD, I will answer it when I get the chance, just listening at work. No worries, Ash. No worries, glad to see you here. And thank you again for posting the question, it's a good one. So, we haven't brought it up in a second, but I'm gonna kind of point out, or point some attention to the question of the day today, which is courtesy of our very own Ash. And she's asking us, you know, if the COVID pandemic never happened, would your life be better or worse at this moment? Feel free to share your thoughts and answer the question in the chat, and we'll talk about that today. And, you know, if you don't have anything to offer on this one, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Just hang out, listen and what other people are talking about and enjoy the show. And maybe on the next episode, you'll find a question that works out for you. We have new questions every single time that we're live on Fitz TV. So there's always new opportunities. So I'm sorry, Lilith. I'm sorry I put that image of soda in your mind. But Lilith answered the question of the day, saying that if the pandemic never happened, I think it would have made my life better because I'm a very social person. So not getting to see or hang out with people and talk with them, the pandemic's made my mental health living hell. I think a lot of us can relate to that too, Lilith. A lot of us. And thank goodness for all of the different tools that we have at our disposal now to connect with people virtually. Because I think that if we didn't have those, this would be a really, really difficult time for a lot of us. I mean, you think about pandemics in the past, like, yeah, you couldn't mail anybody anything because everybody was like quarantining and stuff, you know? No one's gonna go deliver mail. It's all diseased and stuff. And you don't have to worry about that today when it comes to like reaching out to people, and you can do it instantly and you don't have to worry about the risk there, which is pretty cool. But that doesn't replace human one-to-one, face-to-face interactions. There's something that you get there that you just can't get in other forms of communication. And it's very valuable. And I think there's an element to it that makes a lot of us feel like we have a place and we belong and are connected in this world. And when we're disconnected, I think it's really, really hard for us. Like Lilith says, mental health suffers. Absolutely. I think humanity longs to be connected most of the time. And some of us are more like, we want to keep to ourselves, and that's cool, that's fine. But I think that generally speaking, most folks benefit from having some level of interaction. And anybody here who might even be more introverted, you're kind of an example of that too, because sure, you like hanging out in your room and staying home and keeping to yourself, doing your own thing. But I mean, you're here, who else is here? People. What are people doing? They're talking. That's what we're doing right now. And you're listening. So on some level, even the most, people who are the most comfortable with being by themselves still want some sort of connection. It does something for us, and that's natural. It's a good thing. So when things like pandemics happen, where we're really isolated from one another, I think that it really does impact us in a lot of not unseen ways, but in ways that we would have taken for granted otherwise, because we get so used to the interactions that we have every day. It just becomes like a normal thing that happens, right? We don't even think about like the value of it half the time. When we don't have it, we really feel the effects of it. So, and long story short, Lilith shared with us that she feels like that her life would have been better without the pandemic happening, because she has not been able to connect with the people she cares about, being a social individual, and that has negatively impacted her mental health. Thank you for sharing, Lilith. And can you share with us something that you've done to cope with your mental health kind of declining during this time? Digi said, found out last night there's a Dungeons & Dragons style Metroid game that only came out in Japan. There was D&D Metroid? No way, that sounds awesome. It's a good time today. It's the Taco Man today. Right on, man. What's up, Taka? How have you guys been? I feel like it's been way too long since we've got to reconnect. Okay, Waffles. I'm picking up what you're putting down in regards to the sugar purity thing. Man, that's wild. So Agent Pie said a D&D one-shot is basically a single session long compared to a campaign being multiple sessions. So think like a campaign is a TV series and a one-shot is a TV special. Oh, okay. It's a D&D OVA for all the anime fans out there. That's awesome. You fought the Tarrasque, the devourer of all. That sounds epic, man. I bet that was a good time. Well, it's not in New York, living in the central United States. Oh, okay. Oh man, so that's a trip for you to make it over to New York then. You need to come hang out in our neck of the woods. New York's like a 3.5-hour drive from where we live. Rob Strange! Mr. McNamara! What's going on, buddy? How you doing? I know that you sent a message a little while ago, but I've been a little behind on chat today because everybody's having such amazing things to share with us today. But dude, cool. You've been lurking the last few Saturdays. Rob says, it's great to see you back, and thank you for all the positivity. Always, Rob. Always. Hey, can we get a caster command out for our man, Rob Strange McNamara? If you guys like to watch some creative people make some pretty cool content, this dude does music creation and DJ streams, and they are so awesome. It's usually around like the evening times, and every time I've gone in there, man, positive vibes. Everything's really chill and laid back. And his community is full of really fun, cool people to talk to. You're never going to go in there and not be able to participate in the conversation because everybody's just super friendly. Every time I go in there, I'm like, I'm just going to come in and say what's up to Rob for a little bit. And then I end up hanging out in there with him and his friends and talking for like an hour and a half because it's just fun. He's good people. Makes good content and pretty cool music too. Always love to hear it. Lost answered the question of the day saying, QOD, better. I'd have finished this house by now for one thing, and I wouldn't be on the edge of my finances. It set me back minimum 6 months. No, it set you back six months. Was it because of the financial stuff? Or is it like a supply thing? Because I know that right now, like everything is in shortage, and especially building materials have been incredibly expensive because the demand's high and they're in short supply right now. Dang man, that sucks. Where would you be right now if you were 6 months ahead of schedule? If it wasn't for my Twitch art, says Lilith, and playing Fortnite, I'd be in such a different mindset. So doing art on Twitch and Fortnite have actually helped keep you going during the pandemic. Hell yeah. Go art, go video games. That's right, man. Keeping it happening. I feel like video games are like one of the greatest boons to this time in our lives right now. And I know that, you know, there will be some health experts out there that'll probably be like, well, now hold on. Video game addiction is real. And I get that. It is. Definitely impacts a lot of people. But I think in terms of just like having something to cope with these times and keep ourselves occupied and still connected and having activities to do with each other while we're very far apart, video games have been awesome. So I'm very thankful for them to have been like a big part of our lives and become such a mainstream thing in 2021, which is kind of crazy. Growing up, video games weren't mainstream for me and my friends at all. In fact, it got made fun of a lot and sort of like stigmatized if you were a gamer. Now it's like, it's cool to be a gamer. Or so many people are gamers that people are kind of annoyed at the gamers, you know, like it's interesting. Maybe the stigma has just changed a little bit instead of completely gone away. That's probably more what it's like, but it's much more widely accepted nowadays. That's for sure. I tell you what, in 2005, you wouldn't be seeing no Kingdom Hearts billboard across your highway. We still have a Kingdom Hearts 3 promotional billboard out here somewhere. I drive by it every once in a while and I'm just like, neat. The tagline for it was kindness is key. And I'm like, you keep being you, Kingdom Hearts billboard. I hope you stay up forever. It's good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Lost. And thank you for sharing too, Lilith. Sable Luna, what's going on? Padilla, how are you doing? Hey, can we get another caster command out for Sable Luna, please? She loves to do Dead by Daylight streams, and she's quite the entertainer. Very fun to watch. Hilarious to see her try and run from the killer. Always has some interesting and awesome commentary that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat and makes you laugh. Plus, she's super interactive with her chat. So, great place to go. You get to be seen, get to enjoy your time, and make some real connections there. It's pretty awesome. I'm so glad to hear you're wonderful. I've been seeing some of your posts and stuff on Facebook, and you look like you're in such a good place in your life right now, and it really makes me happy to see. You got a beautiful kid, and again, congratulations to you and your hubby. I think it's amazing. I sometimes I forget that you guys met on Final Fantasy 14, and God, man, again, the power of video games. How awesome is that? It's just such a neat thing. You got it, Rob. You got it, dude. It's good just listening. It's good just having you here, man. I feel the positive energy even when you're just hanging out, lurking. Everybody that hangs out on this platform knows what a tremendous asset the people that hang out in channels and lurk are. But not just because you're a number, but because I think it's really cool that, we talk about it all the time here, how sometimes we do things that touch people's lives that we don't even realize because, we never hear about it or never see the effects of it or anything. I think that lurkers are a really good example of that here on Twitch, where it's like whoever they're hanging out, whoever's channel that they're hanging out in, there's a reason that they're hanging out there, and the communities, the broadcasters, and the things that go on in those communities are impacting those people's lives, and they're benefiting from it in some way, and it's just cool to think about, but it also, I think, ends up enhancing the quality of what it is that they're participating in too, even from afar, and there's something about that that's kind of hard to put into words because it's more of an unseen thing. I think it's like I don't know. I'd be getting real deep with you guys if I went down this rabbit hole, but it's kind of like an energy thing, you feed off the people's energy that are around. And I think that's true even in like a virtual setting, even if someone's not really like making their presence known. It's still kind of felt. Does that make sense? Anyway, thank you, lurkers of the world. You're doing good work. Oh, yeah. So getting to reconnect with Jordan's helping too. And that's a more recent thing, right, Lilith? Talking about things that have helped her cope with the pandemic. Let's see. Agent Pie, talking about his D&D one-shot campaign here. Had 2 monks, a cleric, a druid, a necromancer, a giant fighter. That was me. I was the giant fighter. I wasn't actually the giant fighter. A blood hunter, and a flying centaur. That's quite the party. God dang, man. Yeah, that must have been fun. Ash answers the question of the day, saying, "My life would have been much better, and probably even gotten to get the house faster, and now as we're still waiting to move in. On top of that, having family and friends back who have died due to the pandemic. Definitely all of those things, definitely things that have made Ash's life harder or worse due to what's going on right now. And man, it sucks. And I'm really sorry to hear that you've lost friends and family to this thing. It's so unfortunate. And, my heart's with you. My condolences. And the house, like, did it held you up on getting the house? Was that because of a financial thing, or like did something else go on there? Yeah, I think that this pandemic has really just laid waste to a lot of plans and a lot of things that people were trying to make happen. And obviously a lot of lives have been changed in pretty significant ways. I mean, I've talked to my fair share of people too who have lost friends and family, or people have gotten very sick and then dealt with long-term effects of COVID because it's damaged their respiratory organs in some way. And it sucks, man. It's been a tough time for a lot of folks. And I get it. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get like dark and morbid or anything, but every time people talk about it, I think that my first feelings of understanding the reality of what it was that we were dealing with in the world we're starting to live in was when I was watching some stuff that was coming out around one of my favorite musicians, Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and Cambria. And he had done like a live stream like interview. I can't remember who with at this time, but they were talking to him about like what life was like during the pandemic, and how he was coping through it all, and what the band was doing to kind of try to keep things rolling during that time. And he had told a story about how he lives in New York City, and he had just he was seeing a lot of like what was happening kind of on the front lines, because New York got hit really hard during the pandemic. And he talked about what it was like to see just truck after refrigerated truck after refrigerated truck of bodies just driving across the city because, moratoriums were filling up and ICUs were at max capacity and people were just not having any chances. And I don't know. Every time we talk about this, that kind of always comes back up because it really stuck with me. And, even though I know a lot of people who have gotten sick with COVID and they got through it, and some people were asymptomatic and some things, haven't hit people too hard because they've been really lucky. That has always been in the back of my mind. And when that kind of stuff is happening in the world, 'cause it's happening all over the world, it's good to keep in mind the gravity of the situation that we're in and to be empathetic and compassionate when we hear people talking about how this has negatively impacted their lives and how it's been really difficult to cope with. Because, that stuff's happening and it's been happening. And even when it's not happening, the state of the world and the way that we live has totally changed. And so, it's been challenging for a lot of us. So, I can empathize there, Ash, and I'm sorry that you kind of been on the negative side of this and had to be so close to the detrimental effects of this whole time, because I know that's been difficult. But thank you for sharing your story and allowing us to kind of understand through your lens what it's been like and how your life would have been different had it's not been going on. Mongolian Taka says, I can't speak for Haru, but I've been super busy recently with work and stuff. Been gaming hard though. Gamer brain takeover. Big gamer brain, man. What have you been playing, Taka? And I hope that Haru's been doing all right. So you've been super busy recently with work and stuff. Like, what have you been working on? So two-part question. What have you been working on? And what games are you playing? You would have been halfway through another house lost? Wait, multiple houses? Hold on, wait, the context of what you've been doing has just changed for me. Are you working on multiple houses? I thought you were just working on the one. My goodness. Sable Luna answered the question of the day saying, to be honest, the pandemic didn't make it better or worse. My life progressed how it would have regardless. I have my family, and I'm sure I would have met the same friends I met now on Twitch, even if the pandemic hadn't happened. And that's pretty amazing. So, share with us a little bit, Luna. I mean, one, I'm really happy to hear that because, I've met people too who haven't had much impact happen to them in a personal way during this time, which that's awesome. I think it also says something about the lifestyle that some of us have been living and, how this big change in the way that the world works might not be hitting everybody the same way. So that's pretty cool. So share with us a little bit, what was your life like before the pandemic, and since the pandemic has happened, what about it has led you to say that it's been pretty much the same for you and hasn't impacted you in a heavy way? So that's great. Yin, what's going on? Welcome back home. Good to see you tonight. The Yin answered the question of the day saying, honestly, I don't know. Even with the pandemic, I've been trying to work on myself through it, so I don't know. Do you think that you're working on yourself the same way that you would have been had the pandemic not been going on? So you just been doing a lot of internal work during this time. Oh, Lilith says, I'm so thankful for Zen rating you, Vince, because I'm glad to be part of another great family. Yeah, I'm thankful too. Anytime anybody ever comes and hangs out with us from Zen's community, it's a special time. That community is so amazing and full of great people. They're all very compassionate and friendly and fun. Zenith, man, he's got a good thing going over there. You guys have an excellent Zelda daddy, for lack of a better term. He plays a lot of Zelda, everybody who doesn't know Magic Zenith. Yeah, I love that, man. Steve's so cool. I'm very, very honored to have gotten to meet him a couple years back during one of his meetups that he had out in, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? some of my best memories were during that. It was awesome. So yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad that he connected with us too. I feel like our vibes are similar in terms of just like how we look at the world and what we want out of it, even though like our approaches to content creation are different and we have different goals. Just the energy behind it. Like I vibe with him very well. I really like that guy and have a lot of respect for him. But yeah, we're happy to have all you guys here with us too. Agent Pie said he was one of the monks in his D&D campaign. Based it on a Sonic song, Night of the Wind. He's a monk, so he doesn't use armor, and his main weapon is a longsword. Oh, he's a fast boy. 450 feet in 6 seconds in one turn, and then 300 feet per second. Wait, per 6 seconds afterwards? I mean, that sounds impressive, but I don't know exactly what that looks like because I don't have a reference level for that stuff. Very cool. Asher said the house that we are getting needed new flooring, as well as a new bathroom, which we kept telling the landlord we could have done, but he likes to make sure it's to our liking before we move in, so we can't complain. And the supply shortage is just really bad here. It's been affecting everything. Anybody who's been doing anything in real estate or renovation, I think has felt the supply shortage effects probably the strongest because, I mean, everything's gotten very, very expensive. And as a result, work and production has just slowed down in those departments. My mom is facing something similar and has been facing something similar. She moved out to Hawaii, which is amazing. I'm very happy for her because it's something that she's wanted to do for a very long time. She finally had the opportunity to do it right as the pandemic started. Yes. So, you know, she sort of been dealing with that, and where she was living, they were trying to find a house, which was difficult during the pandemic, and they got one, and they were trying to build stuff around the house and set up fences and stuff like that, and that was really hard. She told us a story about how she tried to set up a fence, and the contractors out there already being pretty limited because they're, you know, island people. There's not as much of a surplus of people who do that type of work because it's just a smaller population. So, you know, you try to get contractors in the mainland and you've got a lot of different options to choose from because there's so many people on the mainland. But out there on the islands, you know, just a handful of people, and they might be serving several islands. So they're not always available. So, you know, part of it was the culture out there that sort of slowed things down, and another part of it was the supply shortage and the cost of everything, where, you know, she tried to set up like I think it was a chain link fence, and they came in and like several weeks after she had ordered it, they like put the posts in, the support posts for the fence, and then like 3 months later they came and, no, maybe not that long, but like I think it was over a month or two later that they came in and like did some of the chain linking, but it wasn't done for several months, and it was just this like not even like a lot of fence, you know, maybe I want to say like 30-40 feet of fencing. I might be messing that up. If she's here, she can correct me. But if she's not, then, you know, you're just gonna have to take my word for it and get this really weird mental image that might be incorrect. But the point is that it took way longer than it should have taken for a fence to go up. And then she has bought dirt recently because she's been trying to like do garden work and set up this thing called like a shade house, which is kind of like a greenhouse, but to try to protect the plants from the constant sunlight so they don't get like damaged from overexposure. And she bought dirt and stuff for those things, and apparently she paid an arm and a leg just for dirt. But I think that, I don't know if that's necessarily because of the supply shortage or if it's just because she lives on a volcanic island where that stuff's not really in ample supply. But yeah, it's definitely impacting things all over the place. Gotta reinvest that money into yet more houses. Yeah, Lost is gonna be the next HGTV house flipper show. That's what you should do, man. Become a live streamer and just stream yourself flipping houses and renovating and restoring houses. I would watch that. I would probably learn a lot. And I feel like in that regard, you and another one of our buddies here, Earthquake Photography, you guys would both really be able to benefit each other knowledge-wise in that department, because he does a lot of that kind of stuff too. He's a very big DIY kind of guy. That's pretty cool. Respect. So, Sable Luna says, I've never been a super extroverted person. I've never been the one who like needed to go out and do things. I gamed a lot before and I game now. And to be honest, I game a little less, but that's because I have the kiddo. He changed my life, as kiddos are prone to do. I'm very fortunate that the pandemic hasn't taken anyone from me, and I feel for those who have lost family and friends. Yeah, well, thank you for your sentiments. I appreciate that, Luna. But yeah, you know, you say something that has kind of mirrored a thought that Jen and I both had some months ago, where we were talking about it, and I'm like, man, people who already like spend a lot of time just like playing games, hanging out at home, and you know, doing stuff in their homes because that's what they like to do, probably haven't felt serious impacts from this outside of like how it's affected their loved ones. And that's kind of amazing. I mean, like, especially those folks who like work from home or do remote stuff. You know, now your livelihoods haven't really been affected that much either. So like your hobbies and socializing, and now your work, all three of those like really big things that kind of take up a lot of our times in our lives are being like minimally affected by this pandemic. If you fit into those categories of people that like spend a lot of time at home that way, you're probably doing pretty good right now. Like it's probably one of those things where it's like, this ain't so bad, you know? I feel like it's similar like that for me as well. I mean, I'm pretty outgoing and gregarious and all that stuff. I like to socialize with people. I love making connections and meeting people in person. But I am such a fan of hanging out at home, playing video games, watching anime, catching up on shows, talking to people, you know, in a virtual setting. I'm just very comfortable being home. And so that's what I spend most of my time doing. And, you know, I think that because of that, this hasn't really affected me a whole lot either on a very personal level. Other than, again, friends and family who have dealt with it, you know, either getting sick or knowing someone who's gotten sick with COVID and having something happen, or seeing how it's impacted their livelihoods because, you know, maybe they do like to go out and about and do like to do stuff outside of the house, and maybe their work wasn't remote, so their livelihoods got affected. You know, I've been impacted in those ways, but those are more like, I guess it hasn't impacted me personally, but it's impacted people I care about. And so the trickle down effect is that like, oh, I wish this wasn't happening to people I care about. That sucks. But, you know, it's been more indirect in terms of like how it's affected me. Now I say this too as somebody who got COVID. Like I got COVID a few weeks ago and had to deal with that whole thing, and that sucked. That was very unpleasant. Don't recommend. You know, don't go rushing out there and be excited to get it, because it wasn't fun. But you know, even as much as that sucked, and yes, that did cut into my work hours and stuff like that, still, like, it hasn't, this whole last couple years hasn't like messed my life up all that much personally. And I feel very fortunate to be able to say that, because like I said, I heard and seen plenty of other people who it's really affected. And my heart goes out to them, because that sucks. But, you know, I said earlier, trying to focus on what's going right and the positives and everything. One of the things I think that has actually been pretty cool during these times, and as far as like the world's response to it's concerned, remote work going up. The increase in professional use of technology as communication and like professional work tools has gone way up, and I think that's incredible. There's no reason why we need to work the same way that we did 30, 40 years ago. The world's different. We have way better tools that allow us to be much more productive. A lot of us can be much more productive at home as opposed to doing the whole work commute thing all the time. And we're able to connect with more people in different ways because of these technologies that we have at our disposal. We don't need to be archaic and have to like have everything be brick and mortar and face to face constantly. Not that those things are devalued and should go away, but we can do more than that. And we can expend less energy doing so, I think. So I'm really glad that this last 2 years has taught us on a wide mainstream level how to do that. Even if it started off as a necessity, something that we had to learn how to do in order to keep going. That's going to change the world. And I think it already is. So I'm happy to see that, especially in like the stuff that I'm really interested in, like mental health. Telehealth has been a game changer. People being able to receive services from the comfort of their home, not having to go out and commute, not having to jump on the bus and spend 4 hours of their day just to go and attend a 1 hour therapy session. I feel like that's life-changing for a lot of folks that have been consuming healthcare services. Not to say that that's a replacement for face-to-face care. I think that that's still very important to have too, but the option of that, anybody who's ever been in a mental health care consumer position knows that if you got a therapist and you miss too many appointments, you get discharged and you have to find another therapist, and it's a whole hassle. Like, that sucks. And the idea that, okay, I can't make it today, but I can get on a phone call, I can do a video call so you can keep the appointment. You don't have to worry about getting discharged and you still get to get help. It's huge. It's massive. Put it in perspective. I mean, just like, think if you guys didn't have this place to come to, those of you who are used to regularly coming here, whatever we were doing this a little bit more regularly, which we are doing again, by the way. It changes things, right? You feel different. You feel like you're losing out on something. I felt like I was losing out on something because I always gained a lot whenever we got to meet up like this. It makes a difference. And to lose out on that in a professional setting, to lose your doctors and stuff like that because circumstances just didn't allow you to make the appointments that you really tried to make, I think sucks. So it's pretty cool that in 2021, we have a lot more different ways to actually keep those appointments and get those services. So it's a good thing. So I saw that somebody was taken off. I think it was Ash. No worries, man. You're doing good work out there. It's amazing to me that you managed to pop in here while you're at work. So thank you so much for the support and for coming in. And thank you again for sharing your question with us so that we could talk about it today. It's been a very good question and talking point today so far. So I appreciate you. I hope you have a good rest of your day at work and keep your head up and your heart strong. We'll see you around. Taka's been playing Stellaris, Mountain Blade, Bannerlord, and you started back up on Final Fantasy XIV with one of your friends who wanted to try it. Cool. Yeah, I fell off of Final Fantasy XIV, but it was unintentional. My sub has been running for like the last 3 months, but we had been moving house, and so a month was just gone, and I didn't even realize it because we were just so busy that whole time, and then we've just been focused on other things. Honestly, I've had a couple of other games that I've been playing that kind of kept me distracted from that. So that's cool. Haven't played Stellaris. Heard about Mountain Blade being pretty good. And obviously, I like Final Fantasy XIV, so that's cool. With work stuff, Longolian has been rewriting a very long thing that I had to type up a while ago that I did wrong. Oh no. Oh, that sucks. That's the worst, when you spend a lot of time and energy doing something only to find out you have to do it again. I feel for you, buddy. Well, how's progress going on that? You doing okay? I think I think there are times where I wish I could work from home, says Lilith. Really? Would you care to share with us more about that? Lost is happy to see that businesses are less prone to forcing you to come into work sick. I love that too. We had this conversation we were playing near a few months ago now, where people forcing employees to come in when they're sick and then exposing everybody else to being sick. And, you know, on another level, just not caring about the well-being of their employees. Like, they should be resting when they're sick, right? Saying, screw it, you need to come in anyway because work is important. Work is more important than water. It's more important than family. You better come in here or you're a bad person. That culture sucks. That needs to change. So, glad to see that too. It's very welcome, Lost. Waffle says, even more so with people that fear people. Yeah. Oh yeah. In the work that I do, we meet a lot of people that deal with like agoraphobia and social anxiety and stuff like that. And you know, telehealth has been amazing for them. And you know, just distance work and distance learning and everything like that. It's been good for kids who deal with that stuff. It's been good for people who, you know, have a hard time getting outside of their homes because of like physical limitations or disabilities and things like that. So it creates a lot more opportunities for people who in the past would have otherwise been landlocked, so to speak. So yeah, good points you're bringing up. Hate to love you and leave you, but I gotta shoot. Catch you next time, man. No problem, Taka. No problem. Always happy whenever you get to come in here, and it's a privilege just to get to talk to you for a little bit. So thanks for gracing us with your taco presence. Have yourself a wonderful night. Keep your head up and your heart strong out there. And hey, give Haru our best, okay? We'll see you around, buddy. Glad people are washing their hands in public restrooms. Yeah. I'm glad it's happening more. I still see too many people who don't. Come in here and use the restroom. I see them turn the water on and then like do this. They don't reach for the soap and they just like walk out of the bathroom. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Whatever. Like, I'm just aware that those people exist, and I keep my distance, I guess. I don't know. It's not like I ever run into these people later, you know? Just one of those things I see, and I'm just like, yep, they didn't wash their hands. Hope they're not about to go make my pizza. Get out of that place. Lilith says, I just have a very demanding job, and there are days where I want to sit at home doing a desk job rather than dealing with a screaming child. But at the same time, I love my job. Lilith, you remind me of my sister. And the reason I say that is because my sister works as like a teacher for, well, actually, I don't know if she still does. I think she did for a long time, though, at least. As a teacher for people or kids with special needs. So, you know, she worked in the special education program and dealt with kids just like you're talking about all the time. And she talked to me about how that was stressful and fatiguing, and it could be very challenging. Those types of jobs, like it's very rewarding. The work that you're doing is amazing, and like you probably don't get as much recognition as you deserve for it because it's just, you know, part of the job and understood by your peers as part of the job. But honestly, the work that you're doing is heroic. It's life-changing, and it needs to, like, people need to be there in the role that you're in to do that for others. So thank you very much for what you're doing and the service you're providing to these kids who otherwise might not have the same kind of support that you could give them. Like, you're helping set foundations for them that they'll build the rest of their lives on. You definitely deserve recognition for that. Also, it takes a lot out of a person to do these things. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. Anybody who is a human being is going to feel stressed out from that type of work, because I think it takes a lot of empathy to do that kind of work well. And when you're employing empathy, it drains you, you know, because that's just how it works. You know, you think about it like you have resources, you have emotional resources. And when you employ empathy and compassion, and you're trying to support people and you're trying to teach kids and be understanding of what they're going through, you know, you are expending that emotional energy, and it can get depleted, and then you have to recharge. Self-care is so very important whenever you work in those kinds of fields. And just to stress how important it is, how I handle self-care was actually one of the questions that my now employer asked me during my job interview, because that was important to them. It mattered. it mattered enough to them that my answer was actually going to influence their decision on whether or not to hire me. It's important. If you provide services to others and you're trying to help shape people's lives and be a mentor, a guide, be someone who is just putting yourself out there for other people, self-care is absolutely important. So it's okay to focus in on it. It's okay to push yourself past that point of feeling like you're being selfish, because you're not. You're just making yourself able to do your job better and fulfill your role better, and making sure that you're healthy and safe while you do it. So it's a necessary part of it. But it's also a really challenging part of it, because nobody teaches us how to do these things most of the time. Usually we just have to learn how to do it ourselves. The auto hand dryers being full of germs, but it blows hot air, Jin. Doesn't hotness kill the germs? I heard someone say something like that to me once, and I was just like, it's not like 450 degrees. Like, it's not, it's not an oven, man. Like, I don't know how hot these things get. Them germs are there. Like restrooms with paper towels. I'm still a fan of restrooms with paper towels myself. I feel very lost when they don't have paper towels. It sucks. Then I walk out of the restroom doing this. And people are looking at me like, what's going on with that guy? I'm just like, excuse me, pardon me, I gotta go. Hands are wet. Gotta get in the car. Don't want to get the steering wheel all messy. Get out of my way. Yeah. Usually in a grocery store or airport or something like that. Places where there's not a lot of people to judge me. Wink, wink, there's too many people to judge me in those situations. Imagine it's got to look hilarious too, because I'm like 6'6". So if I come out of the bathroom waving my arms like that, it's just... People must be very perplexed or scared or something. I don't know. Luckily, most places still have paper towels that I've come across, so that doesn't happen very often. I also have to remind myself, says Lilith, that with these little people, they have big emotions and need someone to help them work through it. Totally. Even neurotypical folks, like, when you're young, your emotions are huge. So much more powerful and impactful, and they push you a lot more strongly than they do when you're an adult. That's not to say that adults don't have strong emotions as well. I'm not saying that at all. But everything is much more impactful, much bigger, much more in your face and important whenever you're younger. And I think it's why we see young people have so much passion. It's one of the big reasons too why I'm happy to support anybody of any age, of any background that I can. However, I do tend to lean more towards trying to be supportive of younger people, because I think that younger people, like, not to say that they are like disabled in a way that they need more support, but I think that they can benefit from greater levels of support because they are like dealing with so much. They're dealing with a lot of things emotionally and mentally while they're developing. There's so much happening in their lives. And I think that most of the time, whenever they voice what they're going through, adults write it off as it's just part of being a kid. It's just part of growing up. It's just a phase you're going through. Okay, maybe it is a phase that I'm going through, or maybe it is something that's just part of growing up and everything, but like everything that's happening within that is still valid, it's still real, it's still affecting me. Why does it just get written off because, oh, this happens to everybody? Well, then we should be there for everybody, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm very passionate about this. It's gotten better, don't get me wrong. We've gotten better at paying more attention to our youth, but we can still get better. I want them to have more support, and it's very important. That's why I respect teachers so much, who take involvement in their kids' lives and care about, educating them, but also like being guides and mentors to them, because it's a crucial point in all of our lives. And we can all attest to this, where it's like, if we have good teachers and good people who care about us and care about our lives and what our experience is like when we're growing up, those people usually stick with us. We remember that. We remember how they made us feel. and it's crucial to our development. So, yeah, pay attention to your young people of the world. And if you're a young person out there, keep speaking up. All right. Don't let people stomp on you and stamp that fire out of your soul. You know, keep talking, keep using your voice, keep advocating for yourself, because there still are people out there who care about what you're going through and want you to succeed and want to give you opportunities to do so when they can. It's your voices that are going to shape the future, I think. So keep putting them out there. The Waffle said, but they sure do teach you to work yourself to death. God damn it. That's the truth, man. Well, it's especially in, like, you know, your first world countries of today. Capitalism and economy and stuff like that is very important. So a lot of what success means is kind of revolving around, you know, how much money you make or how you contribute to society. And when someone says, what do you contribute to society? Most of the time they're talking about, like, your job. And they're not asking, like, what kind of impact does the job that you work have on the world? They're asking, how much money do you make? What kind of stuff do you have? Oh, you got a car? Oh, it's a beater? Oh, how come it's not a Mercedes? You should be striving for the Mercedes. Look, man, how's your Mercedes changing anything in the world, all right? Being an asshole, quit it. Like, that stuff doesn't matter. Like, we're taught that stuff matters very much. We're taught that money matters. We're taught that, you know, getting in with a good company matters. And sure, it matters to some degree, but it's not everything. And it's not something that, you know, we should center our lives around. It's something that, like, if it's a means to an end. All right, work is a means to an end. You should have a goal and a purpose in your life and strive for it. But your goal and your purpose in your life shouldn't just be to make money or to make money for somebody else and to just work yourself to death. Work has a place. It's there to keep us busy, to provide opportunities for us to grow, to provide opportunities for us to get the things and get to the places that we want to be and acquire in our lives, for self-enrichment. All right. That's the real value of those types of experiences. But we're kind of at this point in our history right now where it's like everybody just wants to make money. And I'm actually kind of talking about the past, because I feel like, you know, our younger generations today, they see the value of self-fulfillment and self-enrichment a lot more than, like, my generation did. So, you know, I actually think that stuff is changing, but we're all still very familiar with those who just constantly talk about getting a good job, going to college, making sure that, okay, it's good to have your bills paid so that you can survive, but, like, make more money so that you can spend more money, basically, you know, is what it all usually comes down to. There's much more to life than that. Do not sacrifice your personal health just to make more and get more if there's no value to it outside of just stockpiling stuff. If it's helping your family out, cool. If it's, you know, providing for your family and your friends because it's a necessity, cool. If it's helping you achieve your goals and aspire to be the person who does the things in the world that you want to do, great. But don't do it just for the sake of doing it. All you're doing is benefiting somebody else, and they're gonna run you into the ground. They're gonna use you for everything you got. That's not to be cynical. That's just that's the corporate world, man. Like, it's how it is. You know, it sucks, but And in that light, you know, I'll kind of dismount by saying that, like, there are more companies these days that care about the people. There are also a lot of companies that pretend to care about the people, and it's kind of like a marketing ploy, so watch out for them. But there are people who are trying to make a living doing honest, respectable work that benefits their communities in positive ways. There's more and more of that these days, so keep looking around for that stuff. Rob said earlier that he started keeping hand sanitizer around. Me too. It's in my car all the time, man. I use it regularly. I've also had to start using lotion as a result, because my hands get dried out. Does that happen to anybody else here? Jen earlier
Yeah, they might as well have a guy who just huffs and puffs on your hands. That'd be less germs than those auto hand dryers. I want to be that guy. I'd be passing out on a regular basis and still getting paid for it. He says, after he tells you, don't work yourself into the ground for money. It's terrible. Waffle said, puberty has a whole slew of new emotions, ones that many of us are never told about beforehand and are not prepared for. Absolutely. Absolutely. And most people have a difficult time talking about emotions. And I think that a lot of times that's because nobody talked to them about emotions. So I can't blame parents and, older generations for not talking to their kids about that stuff. Not completely, anyway. I can't completely blame them. Because I still think that you could put the effort in, right? You might not know. Like, listen, how many times do I talk to you guys about stuff that I don't totally know, but I'm still trying to make an effort to get involved in it and share it and talk to you guys about. I'm trying, I think everybody can try. And it's okay. I don't know if people are afraid of being wrong or what, but if that's the case, how do you find out you're wrong if you keep everything you know and feel to yourself all the time? No one else is going to be able to tell you you're wrong. And at that point, all you're doing is protecting ego. I'm not saying that's the main motivation behind why people don't talk about emotions with their kids. I'm just saying that if that is a factor, that's what I think about that. But yeah, we're not taught those things. I think the way the world is right now, there's so much information out there. Mental health is on the rise. People are talking more and more and more about mental health related issues. And especially, Gen Z right now is super vocal about that stuff. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think they're setting the bar for being able to have open discussion about those things. And it's going to make it easier for everybody down the road to open up about it. It's going to make it easier for people to talk about as adults. And I think it's going to help people become more aware and educate themselves and each other about these things so that, we might actually see the landscape for what people go through when they're going through puberty start to change, at least emotionally, Physiologically, biologically, that stuff, that's we're human beings. That stuff's just going to work the way it works. But the emotional experience is so incredibly important during during that age. I think I would go so far to say it's everything. Because I remember being a kid and, the social landscape was a big deal to me, and what people thought and felt was a big deal to me. And what my emotional experience around what I was going through and what I was doing at that time in my life was everything to me too. Of course, I'm a little bit biased when I say this. I'm an emotional person, always have been. And so when I was a kid, everything I experienced in the world and in my life was experienced through an emotional lens. It was very important to me to understand what my emotional truth was. And subsequently, it became important to me to help other people understand what theirs was as well, and to feel seen and validated in that. I think that was the foundation of what a lot of my friendships were at that time. Still are, but, especially at that time. I found that if I felt well emotionally, everything else in my life kind of worked a lot better too. When I was unwell emotionally, life felt kind of hopeless, and it was very challenging. CJ says, I think it's so important for us older people to show the youngins what's possible rather than telling them what's possible. Absolutely, man. Preach it, buddy. Yeah, we want to model behavior, model possibilities, model hope. What does hope look like? We can talk about it, or we can also show it, what do these things look like? Model that behavior. Don't just talk about it. There was a very popular phrase that I used to hear older generations say when I was younger. Do as I say, not as I do. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Think about that. You're a person who's at a stage in your life where so much of what you learn is based on what you see, what you experience. Now you're naturally learning through what you're experiencing, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. And you've got someone that's trying to tell you, oh, ignore all of that and just pay attention to what's said. Override all of that natural momentum that your brain is designed to literally learn from and develop like skills around. Throw all that stuff in the trash and just pay attention to what I say. Listen to the lesson, not to the demonstration. That's ridiculous, all right? Never ever repeat that advice to anybody, because it's some of the worst advice you could ever give to a person. It's terrible. It's terrible. Just gonna confuse and frustrate people. No. You want to teach somebody something, lead by example. You want to show someone the right way to do something, show them. You can talk about it too. Use that to supplement the lessons. But be prepared to model what that looks like too, if you're going to talk about it. Lilith said, I feel like nowadays we're setting these younger kiddos up to fail in life. See, can you help me understand a little bit of why you feel that way, Lilith? Because I would actually think the opposite these days. So when I was younger, I felt I was in line with how you thought, because I saw that happen so often, and it was very, very rare that I saw people actually trying to take the younger person's experience into account. But nowadays, it's like I said, there's still work to be done. It still needs to move more in that direction. But I feel like compared to even just 10 years ago, the voices of young people are much louder, and they have a lot more representation than they used to, which tells me that, we're trying to advocate for them a bit more. Now I emphasize the word bit, because they still don't have as much representation as they deserve, or as they should have. So a lot of work needs to still be done there. But to say that like nowadays we're setting these kids up to fail in life kind of leads me to think that nowadays as opposed to before, and maybe that's not what you're saying, that's just what I heard. So I apologize if I'm getting too stuck up on semantics here. Feel free to correct me if that's not what you're saying. But yeah, I think that we're trying to make some steps in the right directions now. Younger people are definitely standing up a lot more than they used to. At least in terms of like teenagers. I think that, preteens, and youth, like grade school kids and stuff like that, they're still, obviously, they're still having a hard time with that because the adults represent them at that point. It's really hard to be that young, and know how to advocate for yourself in a meaningful way. Just because of circumstance, not because of inability or lack of potential, but it's just like, that's just kind of how that is when you're that young, you're still developing your worldview and your personality and your sense of self and all that. So the adults that are around them very much shape the way that they feel and think about things. So in that way, I do agree. Yeah. We could do more work to make sure that they're set up for success rather than struggles. Rob said that I think a lot of people, adults included, don't understand don't understand their own emotions or how they work. Yeah. And CJ's in agreement with that. I am too. For reasons I already explained earlier. I just don't think that, we spend much time talking about it, and I don't think that many people have much experience exploring it. It's again why today's conversation is so important to me. And all you guys who are participating in it, thank you. Everybody out there who's just listening, awesome. Keep hanging out. Anybody out there who would like to offer their experience and their food for thought on this discussion too, please feel free to share. Your experience is valuable. And even if nobody's told you that before, or nobody's treated you like it is, it matters a whole lot. And sharing your perspective has a lot of impact on everybody else that you share it with. So, nobody else has the experience and the perspective that you do. So feel free to share if you have something to say. And if you don't feel pressured. I'm just saying that to kind of provide a path and open a door for you if you so choose. But Danavan, what's going on, buddy? Hey, man, welcome back. Welcome back. So Danavan answered the question of the day, and don't you stuff your sorries in a sack, buddy. Never apologize for your responses. I don't care how long they are. This is how we work here. This is what we do. We have long discussions, and I'm happy for it. So, just to kind of provide some context before I jump into this next response, if you're coming in, our question of the day today is, if the COVID pandemic never happened, would your life be better or worse at this very moment? And this question comes from our good friend Ash here in the LLG community. And if you would like to post a question that could also one day be featured here on The Fence as well, jump into our Discord server. We have a viewer QOD channel there. You can post your questions and they just might get selected. In response to this question, Danavan was saying that, yes, way better. Oh man, I'd love to hear that. Way better. It's been breaking my town, because every one of those raised by money people have been running from the big cities and settling here, causing the housing market to skyrocket. And all the working class is leaving because you can't find rent for single bed and bathroom with a basic kitchen and living room space, because it's like 100. That'd be amazing. Because it's like 1,000 a month or more. God forbid you want something a little nicer, like a trailer home. Wait. I read that wrong. God forbid you want something a little nicer. A trailer home is like $45,000 with no land. You're kidding. Holy smokes. Dude, that's crazy. So you're saying that, I'm trying to understand like exactly what you're saying, because I think I interpreted it differently whenever I was reading the first sentence. You're saying it's way better. Like you're saying that your life. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I must have been just on a weird train of thought. Your life would have been way better had the pandemic not happened. Okay, I'm on the same page now. I understand. I'm sorry. I was kind of having that flip-flopped in my brain for a second. I thought that you were saying that your life has been way better since the pandemic, and I was like, what? But I was processing the question improperly in my head. Yeah, man. The housing market thing has been ridiculous, and Jen and I just faced that as well whenever we're trying to get into our apartment. The apartment that we're in right now, if we had tried to get into this apartment maybe 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, I think that we would be paying about $400 less per month for what we have. Maybe $300, but it'd have been much cheaper than what it is now. And I love our apartment. We're very happy with what we have. However, I think that all things considered, like for what it is, we're probably paying a little bit too much, because it's a 2-bedroom apartment, 2 bathrooms, and I think the square footage is like, it's like 1,200 or something like that. And we're paying $1,500 a month, somewhere around there, which, I mean, we're able to afford, but that's a lot for that. We know people that are renting houses for that much. And so, it's kind of crazy. Another thing to put in perspective with this is that I went to Albuquerque to visit some family earlier this year. And back whenever my best friend's dad bought his house just outside of Albuquerque, he got it at a pretty good price, where his mortgage payments are like, I think they're like $600 or $700 a month. And his house is like twice the size of our apartment, maybe 3 times the size of the apartment. It has a 2-car garage, and it's pretty nice. And it's crazy, it's sorry, not crazy, it's wild. I'm trying to step away from the crazy word. I don't like it so much, but it's just wild, like we could never get something like that out here in 2021 for that price. That's bananas. So yeah, I feel your pain, Danavan. I think that you know, it's this housing thing has definitely suffered actually, let me rephrase. For the middle class and the lower middle class and below, I think that we're suffering big time in terms of housing. For the upper class, it's kind of the opposite, which is also messed up and wild to me, because all the very expensive, like luxury properties in very expensive places like New York City and Chicago and things like that, the property value, or rather the amount of rent for like these really high-end properties where some people would be paying like $2,000 to $3,000 per month, has dropped drastically, and they might be paying like $1,800 or $1,600 per month when they would have been paying like nearly double a year ago. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. But I thought it was worth sharing because, like, the upper class, they're making out like bandits from this whole thing, and it's pretty weird. But man, it sucks. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that that's going on in your town, Danavan. That's had to have been stressful. Sheesh. All right, sounds good, Lost. No problem, man. Take your time. Keep your head up and your heart strong. If I miss you, then, you know, I'll see you in Discord or something. But it was good to see you today. Thanks for sharing. And thank you for sharing too, Danavan. I appreciate your response. CJ says, emotions take a lot of energy and honesty to work out in oneself. And I think a lot of people don't have the courage to confront that. Yeah. How do you have the courage to confront something that is a mystery to you? It's complete shadow, you know? Think about it like this. Like, who was afraid of monsters when they were kids? Anybody was afraid of monsters? Was the dark scary? Did shadows freak you out? You know, if you were like in an anxious place at night and it was kind of scary, you know? Do you have a nightlight or things like that? Emotions are like that. Emotions are monsters. Emotions are those shadows. They're those things that lurk in the darkness that we can't really see. We feel like they're there, but we don't have any idea how to deal with them because they're completely shapeless to us. How do we deal with that? When we're adults, I think emotions look like that to us because so many of us haven't figured out how to identify them, for one thing. And a lot of that would be much easier if when we were kids, we were taught more about them. They wouldn't be so shapeless. They wouldn't be shadow figures. They wouldn't be monsters. They would be just what they are. We could identify them. We could understand what they mean, what the experience of them looks like and feels like, and develop, instead of being scared of what it is and how it's going to hurt us or affect us or freak us out, we could instead divert energy into learning how to prepare to work with them, to understand them, to cope with them, and even to influence them in some ways. So much of that fear and energy that it takes to work through them, or rather, so much of the energy it takes to work through the fear of these emotions, I think, comes from just a lack of understanding what they are. So, you know, we talk about this every once in a while on the channel, but therapy is one of those things that it's hit or miss depending on who you're talking to about it. Some people are like, I love therapy. Therapy is amazing. It has done such good things for me. I think everyone should should have therapy and get a therapist and go to talk to somebody. And then we have people who are like, I will never go to a therapist because therapy doesn't work for me. Therapy's bad. It's just never taught me anything. I've never gotten anything out of it. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, one, therapy is beneficial because it allows us to do exactly what we're talking about right now. You get with the right therapist, you're going to be able to explore emotions. You're going to be able to understand what they look like, what they mean, where they come from, how they affect us. You're going to have a safe place where you get to experience those emotions, talk about them with somebody who is knowledgeable about what they are, and help you learn to cope through them, to manage them, and to live your life with those emotions. That's massive. If therapy hasn't worked for somebody, oftentimes I think it's because they haven't found the right person that they click with. This is very intimate, guys. This is very intimate work that you're doing with this. You're not going to be able to just work on emotions with anybody. There's going to be people that you don't trust. There's going to be people that you don't think understand who you are. Your personality is going to clash, something. When those things are happening, yeah, it's going to be hard to work through emotions. But that's not because therapy doesn't work. That's because that therapist didn't work for you. And that just means that you try another one, you know? And I know I'm pushing therapy here right now, but the reason I'm pushing therapy is because so much of what I've learned in my life about emotions, so much of what I've talked to all of you about, and even so much of the discussion that's happening today, that I'm able to share with you guys, comes from what I learned in therapy. Now, don't get me wrong, I had to apply these things out in the real world and learn through experience and stuff too. But a lot of what I know and have been able to learn is rooted in my experience with good therapists. So, you know, I think that it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all thing, and I've been through my fair share of bad therapists that I would never go talk to again because I don't think they knew what they were talking about when I was with them. And that might not necessarily be true. It just means that they didn't understand who I was and what I needed. And that's fine because there were other people who did. But the reason I'm pushing this so hard right now and talking about it so much is because those are the opportunities, or that's one of the opportunities there that's pretty widely available to turn emotions into emotions instead of monsters. And I think that's important, you know? They are literally the mental equivalent to going to a doctor. You know, you want to learn about health, you go to your doctor. You want to learn about how to take better care of yourself, you go to your doctor. And unfortunately, if you want to get wrapped up in the pharmaceutical industry, you go to your doctor. But that part of it is why you ask questions and why you advocate for yourself, because that's a shady side of the doctor stuff. But, you know, most of us don't feel weird about going and getting a checkup or doing an eye exam so we can see, because we're going to get a prescription for glasses. You know, you break your arm, you go to the doctor, you get a cast, you get pain meds, you get whatever you need to make sure that you can heal properly. Cool. The regular checkups are preventative so that you don't develop health issues that you could have seen coming. You know, those are good things. Most people are okay with those things. Yet for some reason with mental health, we're like, oh no, like, yeah, that's bad. We shouldn't do that because that means we're nuts or something's wrong with us or something like that. No, it's not. It's not what that means at all. That stuff's good for everybody. It's good to talk to mental health professionals because it lets us do on a mental level what we do with our medical professionals, which is to help keep us well, and learn from them. You know, it's a partnership. At least it should be. And if it's not, switch your doctor. I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself, and if it's not working for you. But yeah, I just think that that's something that it helped me so much with being able to transform the monsters into something that I was able to understand and work with a little bit better. And now what do? I come up here and talk to you guys about that stuff. I help share my experience and my knowledge as just a person who has gone through recovery with other people, so that you guys can benefit from that and learn about it and apply it to yourselves in your own ways, which you are then able to do for other people, you know? So you see the ripple effect here? When we try to expose ourselves to avenues of learning about emotions and being able to talk about emotions, we open doors for other people too, so that it's not so scary for the rest of everybody else around us. And it makes it more normal. It makes it more approachable as a topic, and it changes the world in the long run. So be brave, everybody. Face your monsters, because you might find out maybe they're not monsters after all. And if they are, you're gonna find out how to battle them, you know? It's better to battle something you can understand the form of than trying to fight a shapeless enemy who you know nothing about. And I hope I'm not simplifying this stuff because it's not easy. It's not like you just go do it and then sweet, you got there, you know, because you wanted to. It does take work and time and effort, and yeah, it's tough, but I encourage you all to support each other and support yourselves too in getting yourselves involved with ways that you can learn about this stuff. And if you ever need to talk about it and share about your experience with what you're going through, you've got a good place to do it. We're all here for you. And I'm here too. I'm always just a message away, or you pop into the Discord and share something in peer-to-peer, or, share something in the plaza. Like, you guys have good friends who want to hear what you're going through and are happy to share their stories with you as well. Because sometimes this stuff can feel like a pretty lonely journey because we're scared to open up about it, and I get it. I totally understand that. Let's see. Danavan said you could take it as he built up a lot of bad habits that he knows is bad and is telling you not to get into them. Now I'm trying to, I think I lost the context on this because I sort of went on my monologue here and lost my train of thought. So I apologize for not being able to do much with that. But last part of the question, Danavan says, is if I had the same income I do now, I could be working off a mortgage. Wow. That puts it in perspective. Good gosh. I saw a thing that Lilith said that they were in downtown Chicago and apartments were going for $3.5 million. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Yeah, who makes that kind of money? Holy smokes. Do as I say, not as I do. Oh, thank you for the context there. I appreciate that. So to that, you're saying, you could take it as he built up a lot of bad habits that he knows is bad and is telling you not to get into them. Okay, yeah, in that case, see, context matters. In that case, yeah, I understand why you'd say, do as I say, not as I do. However, I would still go to say, put forth some more work and learn how to model that behavior. If you developed bad habits, do what you need to do to start breaking those bad habits. I'm not going to be ignorant and say that just do it. It's easy. It's probably pretty hard. Someone's bad habit is smoking cigarettes and they're trying to quit smoking. That's not going to be easy. I know people who deal with alcoholism, and that's kind of the same deal. It's not so easy to break that habit. However, you can still model the behavior by putting your best foot forward to make an effort to make that change. And then you don't have to say, do as I say, not as I do, because what you're doing is trying to form good habits and you're displaying that. You're just displaying the side of it that is challenging and what makes it difficult for some people to do the thing that you're telling people not to, or that you're telling people to do, telling the kids to do. See, so they're still learning. They're still learning a positive lesson through your experience. And they're also learning like risks and dangers and things that are involved firsthand, which is also very valuable. So, that's kind of what I would still say to that. And again, I'm not saying that to simplify things because it's not so simple as just to be able to just do it. Never is. Nothing in life is. But you can still have bad habits and still model behavior to form good habits for the kids. You talk to them about why it's hard. You talk to them about where the struggles lie, and you talk to them about reasons why they don't want to get wrapped up and involved in something like this, or how to avoid things like this by sharing your story and talking about how you got to where you're at, and also showing, here's what I'm doing to try to improve and do this. All that stuff's really important. And I say that as a person who's made plenty of mistakes in my life, I have said stuff like that to people before. Like, I know I did this, but you shouldn't do that, But I have never said something like that and then not made the effort to try and correct that behavior myself. Because not only is that hypocritical, but it's kind of counterintuitive. What lesson is the person I'm talking to, what is the lesson that person's supposed to receive when they see me or hear me say something and then see me doing something else? It's confusing. Aside from the social implications of like respect that's going to be lost and things like that, I mean, the message that's being sent there too is like, yeah, you should do this, but also it doesn't really matter if you don't, right? Because this person's still living their life and they're doing it. Cool, you know? It's just better to be consistent, I think. At least do your best to make the effort to be consistent. I can never fault anybody for doing their best and not succeeding at what they're trying to do, because at that point they're doing all that they can to get there. So they're trying to. The intent is there, the work is being done, and for all intents and purposes, they're probably going to get there because they're continuing to try to do that. So I can look at somebody who's trying to do something good for themselves and having a hard time actually succeeding in that, and still have a lot of respect for them and look to them as inspiring, more so than somebody who just doesn't even try. Maybe they are aware of their position and they know, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this. But just because you're aware doesn't mean that like I'm going to be able to look to you as a source of strength or guidance. You know, I'm not going to look at you as a guide. So I'm not going to listen to you when you tell me not to do something, because like, why would I? You're not trying to do the thing that you're telling me to do. So clearly you don't understand what it is. That might not be true, but that's the message that I'm going to receive from that person. Anyway, sorry for beating a dead horse. I'm just sharing my thoughts on this, because this is kind of like what my emotional experience has been with folks who have said things like that to me. Do as I say, not as I do type of things. Sometimes I get the intention of what they're trying to say. But regardless of just the intention, I think that the effort that they would put forth would actually be impactful for me in ways that just them telling me wouldn't. That's not to say that like not sharing the advice, like that's not to say that sharing the advice is meaningless. I'm just saying that it doesn't carry as much weight when you're talking about it in the context of teaching young people about things. Do as I say, not as I do is not the most effective teaching method. In fact, it can be pretty counterintuitive. So anyway, Lilith earlier had said that they feel like they would benefit from working from home. Wait, that's what they were talking about, right? Oh, I see. No, she feels like these days we're setting kiddos to fail in life. Okay, so context there is that she feels this way because when she was in her 5-year-old class, never seen such self-entitled kids. They want something then and now, and Lilith is just like one person. 30 kiddos feel like that's going to fail them. Oh, like one person to 30 kiddos. And Lilith feels like that's going to fail them because they're going to expect things right when they want it because their parents just hand it over. Maybe that's just me. No, that's not just you. So I get where you're coming from now, and I wasn't thinking about it in that light at all. In that context, I really do agree. Because what you're talking about is the instant gratification that a lot of parents are giving their kids right now. This isn't an emotional discussion so much as it is like, we're not talking about having emotional discussions with our kids so much as we're talking about the privilege that we're giving our kids to just do what they want and like not receive discipline, not be taught lessons, things like that. The iPad generation of kids, you know, where it's like, what I mean by that is that like the parents hand the iPads over to the kids to keep them busy all day while parents do work and other stuff. And because that's keeping their kids occupied, they are taking that as a liberty to not be as involved with their kids as they should be. And that absolutely creates this entitled, not personality, these entitled tendencies in youth. Because then what ends up happening too is the parents don't really learn how to discipline their kids because they're not having to practice it. They're just kind of like looking for the quick fix solutions whenever confrontations arrive. And most of the time that looks like, my kid's upset. I don't want them to be upset because they're not gonna, like, not just they're not gonna do what I want them to do, but also like they're just going to be upset, and I don't know how to deal with that. So here, give them the thing that they want so they're not upset anymore. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with like that out in the field, where I've gone to their house to support them, and they're like, my kid doesn't want to clean their room. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, let's talk about that. Like, how do you think we can get your kid to clean their room? Well, I don't know. Okay, that's fine. So, you know, what do they say whenever you tell them not to clean, or that they need to clean their room? They tell me no. And then what do you do? Well, I just don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, so does that mean that, like, that's where the conversation ends? Or, you know, what happens next? Oh, you know, I usually just hang up on them. Which this is a very specific example that I'm talking about here. But this person would communicate with their kid via phone because they lived up, like, the kid's bedroom was upstairs, and they had mobility issues. So like the mom couldn't go upstairs to check on the kid all the time. So they would call each other. So whenever he would say something frustrating and be defiant like that, she felt herself getting frustrated, she'd just hang up the phone. Avoid the confrontation right there. So the kid learned, if I don't want to do something, all I need to do is frustrate my mom, and then I'm going to get what I want. And the mom is so worried all the time talking to me about, like, well, I don't want to be viewed as a bad parent. I want my kid to respect me. I want my kid to know that I care about them. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, you can instill discipline and teach lessons and stuff like that, and they can be frustrated at you and still respect you and still appreciate you as a parent because you're being involved in their lives and you're taking an interest in their well-being. They might not see it right there in the moment, but that's normal. That's a normal part of being a kid. So, you know, like, just keep trying to do that. And then they'll be like, okay, well, he doesn't clean his room. He doesn't do the dishes. He doesn't take care of anything around the house. He stays up all night and sleeps all day and does bad in class and blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, I asked the parent, what do you do to discipline them? Nothing. Oh, hey, do you know how to get an Xbox Live gift card online? Why? Because I want to get it for the kid. Why are you getting an Xbox Live card for the kid? So he can talk to his friends and, you know, so he can still play his games and stuff. Well, didn't you just tell me that he is staying up all night playing video games, and that's why he's sleeping all day and not getting to class and not getting his work done, and then he's tired throughout the day, and that's his excuse for not doing chores and stuff like that? Like, why are you giving him these things now then? Well, because I don't want him to be mad at me. He's going to be mad if his Xbox Live runs out, and then he's just going to be pissed off. And I'm like, okay, what happens when he's pissed off? Well, it gets destructive, and, you know, he tears up furniture, or he puts, you know, damages walls, or, you know, he's just real moody and stuff. I'm like, okay, so let's work on the moodiness. Let's work on the outbursts. Let's work on that stuff. No, we'll just avoid it. I don't know how to deal with that, so let's avoid it. So, you know, long story short, this is an example of what Lilith is talking about here, where the kids act out. The parents are like, I don't know how to handle that. So we give them what they want. Cool. And then they're appeased for the moment. They don't learn any lessons or anything like that. And then they go into the world and they expect the world to keep appeasing them as well. The problem with that is, like, this isn't not caring for your kid's situation. This isn't you should not respect what your kid wants because they have needs and their feelings matter too situation. This is there are opportunities to teach your kid lessons. There are opportunities for your kid to learn about how the world works and how to deal with not getting what they want, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with things that might not be so pleasant, and doing things they don't want to do that are being completely taken away from them. And, you know, they're being raised in ways that maybe in the moment the parent thinks is good for the kid, because short term they're getting what they want and they're happy, but long term it's really damaging. And it's setting the kids up to have a really difficult time down the road, because that's not the way that the world works. And they're going to get out there and they're not going to know how to succeed and to get by in a world that does not care about gratifying them. And then they're gonna have to figure that out. Why is this happening? How do I deal with that? What do I do? And try to figure out on their own now how to develop healthy skills to allow them to navigate that. So yes, Lilith, I understand what you're saying now, and in that way, yeah, I feel like a lot of us adults have been setting our kids up for failure in that regard. And yeah, I think that needs to be worked on, for sure. For sure. Sorry, Waffles, I just saw your earlier message. How do you deal with something you can't punch or run away from? Oh, I get what you're saying, but like, yeah, it's a funny way to put it. Oh, hard to fight shadow beings, man. CJ had said something earlier saying, I love this parallel between emotions in the dark. I used to be fairly scared of the dark for a long time, but one night, walking down the street at night as a teen, I stopped and realized just how beautiful the night is. The quiet ambience, the soft street lights, hearing your own sounds so clearly, like your footsteps, the soft rustling trees, and also the moonlight and stars. Emotions are very much like that, beautiful in the right perspective. Yeah, and it's hard to take a step back and appreciate all those things whenever you're like wrapped up in how they're affecting you in the moment, right? That's really difficult. So, you know, just like the night, like if you're scared of the dark because you don't have much exposure to it, you don't know how to deal with it, you're not taught how to navigate it, you tend to avoid it. And so every time you go out in it, it's scary. But whenever you're in it and you learn what it looks like and what it feels like and how to deal with it and navigate it, suddenly you can start seeing other aspects of it that are actually pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. It actually reminds me of experience that I had with bipolar disorder, where, you know, I was dealing with, I used to just call it the darkness. It was the side of me that I felt was like my monster side, the angry part of me, the spiteful and hateful part of me, the depressed and hurt part of me, the part of me that I didn't like. I hated it. I was scared of it because I didn't feel like it represented me as who I wanted to be. I felt like it was all of these terrible qualities that I didn't want to be associated with because that's not who I am. And so because of that, I always tried to turn away from it. I rejected it. I pushed it away. I tried to destroy it. And all that did was sort of like make it more powerful, you know? And it was, again, I called this my darkness. It was the darkness. And the way that I learned to deal with it was a very pivotal moment in my life where I remember sitting in my room. And again, this was something that happened because of some time in therapy that I had been spending, where I talked with my therapist about this and how I felt about this. And she was like, have you ever tried to just understand it? No, what do you mean? Like, why would I want to understand this thing that I want to be rid of? Because it's part of you. Oh. Well, does that mean it doesn't go away? Yeah. You know, it's part of who you are. You have to learn how to live with it. Okay. That changed the game. The objective is no longer about destroying it or getting rid of it. It's about understanding it and learning to live alongside it. So that's what I learned in therapy, sitting in my room. And I just started kind of meditating, you know, not in a traditional sense. I mean, I was just sitting there kind of with my thoughts and thinking and experiencing what I was feeling. And sure enough, that thing that I was afraid of, that darkness, kind of like popped up. And what I tried to do instead of push it away, or instead of get rid of it, was talk to it. And I almost mean that quite literally. Like I had a conversation with myself. My what I would consider to be like my good side, of sort of having this conversation, this dialogue with the darkness. And it was very weird, very uncomfortable. And I just, I don't know. I hadn't done it before. So I didn't know what to expect. Part of me thought it was stupid. Like this wasn't actually going to do anything. And I realized that really quickly that wasn't the case. through this conversation, I learned a lot about that side of myself. I was able to explore why it's so strong, where it comes up, why it comes up, how it impacts me. I could take a step back and reflect on what it even looks like whenever it is sort of more of like the dominant force inside myself. And you know, I kept doing this. And by the end of it, it was very emotional because it was like, it really felt like talking with myself. Like I remember the imagery in my mind. Like I felt like I was sitting there with another person sitting right next to me and having a discussion with them in my mind. Because that's what I pictured. Think like Dark Link from The Legend of Zelda. But instead of fighting each other with swords and shields and stuff, we were just sitting there having a discussion. It was kind of bizarre. But ever since then, I understood what I was working with. I understood how this thing was taking hold, why it was taking hold, why it was so just such a powerful force in my life. And all of a sudden it had a figure, it had a shape, it had a name, it had characteristics and qualities, it had attributes, things that I could define. And because of that, I became familiar with it. And it wasn't just something I was scared of anymore. It wasn't just something I wanted to destroy because of how it affected me. I started to understand it. And through that understanding, I gained mastery over it and learned how to live with it. Not how to get rid of it, not how to destroy it, but how to coexist. And through that coexistence, I have led a happier, healthier life. And I have had much more ability to control the symptoms of mental illness that I've dealt with. And it has been massive in terms of recovery. And this is, you know, again, this is just that parallel between emotions and dark that CJ was talking about. He talked about it in like the physical sense. And we were talking about emotions because I think it's a good analogy for that stuff. He was drawing the parallel too between the physical and the emotional, because those things make sense to most of us, right? They're pretty relatable. But the lesson there is the same. You know, when we try to understand that darkness, we come to stop being so afraid of it because it has shape. It's not just a shadow anymore. It starts to make sense, you know? You ever tried to solve a math problem when you don't understand the mathematics that you're working with? Like, you remember what it was like to learn algebra, and it was the first time that you were seeing letters in your mathematical equations? What'd you think? What? X and Y? This is math. We're dealing with numbers. How are you supposed to solve for a letter? This isn't the alphabet. We're not in English class. What the hell is this? How are you supposed to solve that problem if you don't understand how that works? You don't. You scratch your head, you get mad, you get frustrated at it, you don't want to deal with it. You say, you know what? I'm going to cheat off someone else's homework because it doesn't make any sense to me. Or I'm just not going to do my work because I just don't get it. Like, you're going to avoid it, you know? I bet I'm probably not going to need to use algebra on anything anyway. Algebra's stupid, you know? And then what happens? Like, you start to learn algebra, it's explained to you, it's the letters start to make sense. Oh, a variable. That we're not trying to solve for the letter X. X represents something in the mathematical equation. Oh, suddenly everything starts to make sense. It still sucks. You still don't want to do it. Write out the equation and figure out the formulas and everything. That's still annoying, but damn, I know how to do it now. I can work with this, you know? It might be hard, but suddenly there are steps that I can take to find the solution. It's a real lost in my eyes. Please stand up. He's back. He made it. All right, now I'm really behind on chat here. I'm probably gonna miss a couple of y'all's messages, so I'm sorry for that because I'm gonna be jumping up to the front here. This is not to say that I'm trying to ignore anybody or I don't care. I just kind of want to get a little bit more current, so I can see what's going on. Prince, welcome back in, man. It's good to see you tonight. I hope you're having a good night. Happy Saturday. Also, speaking of Prince, dude, thank you so much for introducing us to the anime Komi Can't Communicate. We watched the first episode of it the other night, and it was very good. I very much like that show. I recommend it to anybody that's an anime fan out there too. If you like slice of life stuff, it's pretty cool. It's a show about a girl who has social anxiety and is unable to talk. And her goal is trying to make 100 friends. And she meets a person who, ends up becoming her first friend and is trying to help her do that. It's cool. It's a good show. It's on Netflix too. They just aired the first episode. They're kind of releasing them episode by episode. So the first time I ever seen that happen on Netflix, by the way. So that's kind of cool they're doing that. Hugs, mental or otherwise, can solve so many problems. Man, hugs are powerful, aren't they? Aren't they? I love hugs, man. That's one of the things that sucked about this pandemic, man, is the lack of hugs, man. Oh. That has affected me tremendously. Not gonna lie. Prince, had to make dinner, huh? Oh, what are you making? I know you're saying it's not healthy for you or whatever, but like, you do, like you say, deserve to treat yourself every once in a while. What are you cooking up? Dude, it was a good pilot. I mean, of course, it's only gonna deal with a couple characters. It's pretty early on. I am very happy with the way that the show is directed so far, because the presentation is key for something like that, I think. And I think that they're doing a good job of presenting it in a comical, emotional, and heartfelt kind of way. That seems to be like it's almost educational in a weird way. Like that's clearly not what they're trying to make the show into, is like an educational piece. But there's elements of that there, and I like that. It's more like raising awareness for what social anxiety can look like. And it seems to be providing some hope too, in that it can be overcome and worked with, which is awesome. I love it, man. I'm enjoying it so far. Lilith had to turn off all her lights. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear about the headache. That sucks. Last night, Agent Pie said, during the big meetup with friends, we did big group hug because one of the friends is going to be in the army next month. They're going to the army. Oh man. You know what? I bet that group hug was going to be a big, powerful, impactful moment for them that they'll probably carry with them during their time in the army. They must be like, I was going to express a couple things here. One, if they chose to go into the army, I wonder if they're looking forward to that phase of their life, but also, they have to be missing their friends so much once they go. So I'm glad you guys got that time in together. Is that kind of part of why you decided to do the one-off campaign too? So earlier, Digi had said that, they were talking to Lilith, but I'm kind of gonna just sort of put you on blast here because this seems cool. Digi said, I feel like most home family education is lost. Like they just hope or want the daycare, school, the internet to educate their kids. The thing is, academics can only go so far. Life skills have to be learned through experience, and you gotta experience it in person. And it requires it alongside other people, mainly parents. Yes. The reason I wanted to kind of put that on blast is because it just goes hand in hand with what we were talking about earlier. And it's an important point to make. Several of them, actually. We don't want to delegate the educating of our kids just to professional educators. But Vince, they're teachers for a reason. Yeah, but listen, the teachers deal with educating them about, the school curriculums for 8 hours a day. But then there's a lot of life skills kids need to learn from the parents. And they're going to still spend more time with the parents. At least I would hope they should spend more time with parents who are supposed to be able to model these behaviors and these lessons, be examples of, what it is to live out in the world in a healthy and responsible way. A teacher can't be expected to provide that for their entire class in every possible aspect of daily living. That's ridiculous. It's impossible. The internet is, again, supplemental to what the kids could be learning at home. It shouldn't be a replacement. So yeah, all very good points. All very good points. People got to learn through experience. It's good. Do-da-do. Do-da-do. What is that? What is that for? Prince finished season 1 of Made in Abyss earlier. Cool. Yeah, you're probably right. COVID probably did delay it. I know it delayed a lot of studios' work. I don't know. I haven't watched that one, and I don't follow the studio that's behind it, so I don't really know what their whole thing was. Waffle said that teachers deal with and are trained to deal with book smarts, while parents deal with street smarts. Street smarts! Yeah. In a lot of ways, yeah. This reminded me of something that... Oh my God. I almost forgot about this. It's been a while since I've told this story. But when I was in elementary school, I think I was in about either 2nd or 3rd grade. My mom was really good about teaching me stuff whenever I was younger. And when I was older too, but especially when I was younger. We used to read together all the time. She would teach me things about math, and if I had science questions and stuff, we'd go to the library together, and we'd both read books and learn about these subjects together so that we could talk about them. And she was very involved in my pursuit of knowledge, and I was a very curious kid. So, when I was young, really young, for the time, I think that I was fairly smart for my age. And so there was this one time where we were doing classwork, and I had finished my assignments early, and I would finish my assignments early often whenever I was in grade school. So this became a pretty common thing. I'd get everything done, then I'd get bored. So, I'd usually doodle or write or something. But I really like to socialize. So I was a very communicative kid. So that obviously that carried into my adult life as well. But that aside, I tend to reach out to people around me whenever I don't have anything to do. And you know how it is when you're a kid. You get in trouble for that stuff because obviously people are trying to focus on their work. You're distracting whenever you're talking to everybody. It makes sense in a classroom setting. I totally understand. However, I kept doing it. So what would happen is every day I'd go to class, we'd be assigned work, I'd get the work done, I'd talk to kids next to me, make friends. Anyway, the teacher started looking at me as a person who was a troublemaker. I distracted the other kids. And other people's learning was suffering for it, which, fair enough. Okay, I did distract the other kids. That was true. However, favorite part of this story, my mom got called in for it wasn't a parent-teacher conference. She had to have a discussion just with my teacher one morning. So she took some extra time, walked me to my class. Teacher came out, said, "Hey, this is what's going on with Christopher. He keeps doing this." And they got into it, and the teacher was like, "So, it's my job to teach these kids about these things." And so she was like, "What do you and Christopher do at home?" And my mom was like, "Well, we'll do his homework together if he has any. When he asks questions, we'll go and find the answers to them together. We read a lot at home. I try to help teach him as much as I can when I can. And she said something to the effect, my teacher did, to my mom, that was like, well, you shouldn't be teaching him so much at home. And my mom was just like, excuse me? What? What do you mean? Like, I'm his mother. Of course I should, you know? Like, that's ridiculous. What a wild thing to say to a parent as an educator. But what the teacher was trying to say, I think, was that because you are teaching him at home, he is not getting value out of the classroom, and therefore is becoming a distractor for the other students who are getting value out of the classroom because he gets bored and has nothing to do. I get that now. However, the solution to that isn't to tell the parent to stop teaching their kids at home. That's ridiculous. But I remember this, and I think about it every once in a while. Like I said, I kind of forgot about it for a bit, but this conversation brought that back up, and I just thought, man, it's so funny because no, that's the opposite lesson of what we're trying to teach here today, which is that parents should be involved in their kids' lives. They should try to teach them things. They should be part of their education. It can be nothing but good. If at the end of the day, the problem that your kid is dealing with is boredom and being distracting in the classroom setting, those are things that you can learn how to deal with and that you can teach on a behavioral level. The solution is not to dumb your kids down so that, they have to work harder in class. As an educator, adapt to your students. That's what you should be doing. As a parent, try to help the educators in working with them as a team. Because at the end of the day, educators and parents, I think, are teammates when it comes to the kids. Also, I did not see this earlier, but NRF, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Welcome on over to our side of the fence. I don't know why that didn't pop up earlier. Totally missed that. Brent said, I don't think that they should have taken cursive out of schools, but I guess the parents can pick up there. I mean, how else are they going to learn how to sign their name? Dude, it's becoming increasingly more irrelevant to need to work on handwriting and know how to sign stuff, because digital signatures and electronic signatures are kind of taken over for one thing. But then most paperwork these days is being delegated to technology because, one, it's more efficient, takes up less space, and it's easier to share with other people. So I get it. But I also agree with you. I think that, learning how to write is a good skill to have. And I like cursive. I mean, I can't tell you that I think cursive is very valuable in 2021. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to think of many walks of life where that is going to be an important skill to have. A good skill, sure. Something that's pretty neat, yeah. But I don't think it's one that's like gonna have a whole lot of impact on kids these days. However, as someone who loves to read people's handwriting and to write things down as opposed to type them out, I am a little sad to see cursive go by the wayside and writing skills kind of becoming less important. I think it's a bummer, but I think that's more of a personal preference than I think it is me seeing a need for it to continue to be prominent in the world. Agent Pie says, yes, so since some of the group lives about an hour away, this was the first big meetup since last Christmas. Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Pie continues to say, me and a couple of friends will at least get to see him again next Sunday for Halloween stuff. Cool. Cool, so you get another chance to meet up. That's great. Wow. Well, I'm glad you guys got to kind of bring the tradition back together in person before he had to take off. I would love if all my parents were like your mom, said Lilith. It would make it a little easier on me. I feel like most
teachers feel that way too. This woman was bananas. I don't know what her deal was. I think she had some egocentric stuff that she needed to work out because she didn't feel like as valuable as an educator or something, because she couldn't really teach me a whole lot. But it's just, every time I think about it, I'm like, that is the most ass backwards response I have ever heard a teacher have to something like that. Okie dokie, Jin. Lost says, I think it's more about how a lot of teachers desire complete control over the minds of children. And they get distressed when parents teach them counter or even, when parents teach them, I'm missing what you're saying here on this with counter, or even at all, because it takes away from their control of the children, which they think is damaging because, well, you're not a teacher, I'm a teacher. I went to school to be a teacher. Listen, we're all teachers, okay? For example, we come up here and do this stream, right? Who's the streamer? I'm the streamer. What does that mean? I usually lead the show, okay? But that's it. That's it. Am I the only one who can talk about mental health? No. Am I the only one who can talk about what it's like to live well? No. Am I the only one who can offer people opportunities to share stories and to listen to those stories? No. You guys constantly teach me stuff. You guys constantly come up to a point where you lead a conversation in a direction. You guys are constantly showing me things and sharing things with me and talking to other people and listening to other people's stories and validating and supporting and all this stuff. Why? If I were to be like that teacher, I would be like, hey, Lunar Waffles, how dare you share examples of what we're talking about here? I'm the streamer. You sit down, you listen, okay? This is my show. What? Are you kidding me? That would be bonkers. Like, why would I ever do that if my goal is to create an environment where we can openly share with each other and learn from one another? That doesn't make any sense. So I get it. What Lost is saying, I think, probably plays a role in why that teacher acted the way that she did, and why some other educators and like bosses at work and people in leadership roles act the way that they do too. It's self-gratifying. And we were playing Nier on Thursday, and I'm trying to remember the context of it right now, but something came up where, I don't remember what it was. It was SW talking about his experience with his professor in college, whose grading rubric seemed completely nonsensical because it was very subjective and like amorphic. It wasn't like solid and standardized in a way that people around her could understand. She seemed to be the only one who understood it. And how like she seemed to be interested in teaching her students the way that she does things more so than teaching her students things and then having a standard for them to meet and then trying to help them succeed in ways that were more tailored to them. Like, she had a methodology that she wanted to apply, and she wanted other people to learn how to apply it as well, and their ability to apply her methodology was going to be the way that she graded them, the metric that she graded them on. And that's very like limited, in my opinion. With something like that, that feels very self-serving. That feels very much like, okay, they're going to learn my method because my method is the right way. And if they're not learning my method, then they're doing it wrong. I think educators like that, they need to learn to be a little bit less rigid, I feel like that's where those kinds of comments and confrontations, like what happened between my grade school teacher and my mom, come up. And it's a little silly.
There's a reason there are PTAs and also the saying, it takes a village. Yeah, totally. Maybe writing retro old-timey books? Can we make a job of that? I mean, yeah, well, we're still writing books, right? But they're always typed up. Has anybody ever read a handwritten book? Like, you ever picked up a book that's bound and it's written in script? I've read a lot of books. Never read one of those books. Not gonna lie. That would be cool though. I mean, shoot, if there was a publishing company that specifically did that, like, I'd be about it. Also, I'd feel really bad for that publishing company because, oh my gosh, it would be really hard to be successful in this economy with it, with that being their model. Words per minute on a keyboard over legibility of writing, right? Right. It's about that efficiency. Phyllis said, like the other night when I asked out about advice about Jordan, I wouldn't have been able to even share it if this wasn't a safe space. Yeah. If it was like, you know, that's like, and I'm not calling out anyone specific here, but if you guys have been on Twitch for a little while, you've seen these streamers out there. But that's like being like the streamer who they're like, all right, we're playing GTA 5 today, and here's the thing that we're doing. This is the scenario. This is what I want the show to be about. And someone comes in, they're like, hey, streamer, I've got this thing going on, and what do you think about that? And they're like, hey, I don't have much to share about that. Quit distracting me. We're trying to do something here. Like, what are you doing? You know, and they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna talk to the chat about that. And then the chat's like talking about this other side topic, and the streamer's just like, what the heck? Like, why are you guys all talking about this? You're not paying attention to what we're doing. Like, why am I even doing this? I'm gonna log off. Like, sayonara, buddy. Okay, like, you can do that, but it's not. Why are you streaming if you're doing that? You know what I mean? And again, I'm speaking very generally here. Maybe someone's making content that is very tailored to the specific thing that they're doing. And in which case, make it transparent to your audience so that you can get them involved on that. You know, if that's the type of content that you're making. My point is that, you know, like Lilith is saying, when a place isn't inviting for people to be able to share things like that, and your whole thing is to trying to make something inviting, it's counterintuitive to not let other people take the reins every once in a while. You gotta be comfortable with that. You gotta be comfortable with letting other people be their own experts and sort of like show you how they do things and take the opportunity to learn from them in the same regard that you would want them to be able to learn from you too, if you're in the role of leadership. I think a good leader in any field, in any industry, in any walk of life, a good leader knows how to learn from the people that they're trying to lead. Because it's a team effort, right? It's important. And at the end of the day, if you empower the people that you are trying to support, then those people become better. You become better, and you all become a better unit together, which means you're capable of doing more things. So why not do that? At the end of the day, that payoff is so much greater than any stroke of ego could ever be, you know? You go home at the end of the day and look at yourself in the mirror and you'll be like, I'm a great person because I know how to do this for people. Like, cool, that's great. Like, maybe you're able to do that and maybe you feel good about yourself. You should be able to feel good about yourself. But if everything you're doing is so that you can have that moment at the end of the day every day, you know, maybe rethink a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing. That should be a part of I think being well, you know, the ability to validate your strengths and to appreciate what it is that you're doing. But everything that you do shouldn't be for the goal of self-gratification, if that makes sense. I think. But what do I know? I'm just a 29-year-old nerd dude who hangs out in his office and plays around on the internet and has toys in the background over there. So I probably don't know all that much. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Welcome back, Jen. You have Pusheen PJs? What? That sounds super cute. We have spent the last 3.5 hours having a fantastic conversation, haven't we? You guys rock. Thank you. Thank you for creating this today. We, a lot of times, you know, we kind of, I won't say run out of things to talk about, but we hit a point in the conversation where it's like, cool, you know, we don't have much else to say on the topic. Let's shift gears and we start playing some games or something like that. And, you know, then eventually we have another conversation later, which I'm always happy with. That's cool. We just like to go with the flow. However, when days like today happen, where it's just like, man, everybody's got such awesome things to share and such good insights about the topics of conversation. They're fun. They're days where I get to learn a lot, and I feel like you guys get to learn a lot, and you know, we get to kind of grow together. These are fun days. I walk away from these types of streams feeling awesome, not just on a personal level, but like, wow, we all just got to participate in something that was pretty cool. It's my favorite. I think that through like my peer support work lately, I've kind of understand that like this is like group in a weird way. A lot of this stuff that we do here is like group, where people come together and talk about what they've been through and how they're feeling and what their experiences are like, and everyone else is just like, cool, we're gonna be here for you. And you know, we walk away at the end of it, and you know, we kind of go back to our lives and do what we're gonna do throughout the week, and then next week we come back and, you know, share about that. I like it. It's fun. Now that we're doing some more streams too, I anticipate being able to bring in some more community activities down the road too. So I'll be looking into some of that stuff. I miss playing games with people, like multiplayer stuff. So I'm gonna try and figure some stuff out like that we can do together. That'll be pretty casual, you know. People don't have to get like super duper invested. They can just pop in and, you know, join if they want to, and if not, cool. That, you know, we can still have conversations around and stuff like that, because the conversations are, you know, the goal here. That's the center point. But yeah, man, it's nice. It's nice to be able to do this. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Waffles earlier said that counter to what the teacher is saying, say back in the segregation period, or some do these days, teaching that modern day whites need to feel guilty over the stuff we did back in the 1800s, and that we need to sacrifice everything we gained from it to make amends for it. These are, of course, examples of bad teachers. So hold on, let me kind of double back here and see what you're saying, Waffles. So let's see. You're talking about back in the segregation period, right? You know, that's an example of what teachers back then were doing. Is that what you're saying? So, are you saying that, like, to express an idea that is counter to what the teacher is trying to express, like to be an outside source of education to an educator, teachers of yore would be who are the same people who would be talking about like segregating people into classes and race and stuff like that, would be talking about how this is a bad thing for people that aren't educators to be educating children. Is that kind of what you're saying? Picked one up but never read it. You actually had your hands on a handwritten novel, Lost? You didn't read it. When are you ever gonna pick one of those up again? I've never seen one. You should have sent it to me. Lucy, what's going on? Lucy said, I know it's not really on topic, but I remember having a teacher that claimed I was insane and made my parents get a ton of tests done on me to see if that was true. She did that to nobody else and got fired not too long after. And this was when I was a small child. What? Are you serious? God, that's so frustrating. Lucy, I'm so sorry to hear that happened to you. I'm glad that teacher got fired. That's nuts. Why the heck did they do that? What, did they just like have problems with you or something like that? This reminds me of a teacher that I had in middle school who was, you know, kind of similar. So, you know, I think I was 12. It was 7th grade. So, yeah, that must have been 12 years old. So, 7th grade, I was on psychiatric meds at the time, and, you know, I had to take them 3 times a day. So, the time slot that I was supposed to take my meds at was like 12:45. So, lunch period was already over at this point, and this class, my English class, had just begun. Now, mind you, this was a special education English class too, so the teacher should have already been familiar with kids needed to take their meds, needed to have like certain kinds of needs met, things like that. Like clockwork, every day I have to go to the nurse's office at 12:45 to take my medications, and then I come back. Now, I remember there was a parent-teacher conference in which this teacher had complained that I miss too much class. I'm always skipping out of class because I go to the nurse's office every day to try and avoid doing my work. I had actually been suspended at one point and received detention because of this. And my mom was like, "What the heck's going on? Talk to the school. That's why this parent-teacher conference took place." This teacher constantly tried to tell my mom that I was doing something wrong, that I was being like a problem in the class, and that she couldn't do her job, and she, like I was being, what did she call it? I guess the work equivalent to it would be like insubordinate, but basically being insubordinate in a classroom setting. Undermining her authority, that's what she said. And it's ridiculous. I was going to take my meds. It took me 5 minutes, and then I came back to class. What's the problem? Like, this was ridiculous. Anyway, after a couple times of me getting in trouble, and finally we had this parent-teacher conference, my mom was like, she was pissed. And so she fought back, and this teacher got in trouble, and she got fired. And you know, thank goodness, because what the hell? I don't remember her treating other kids like that. I'm not sure that she didn't, but I don't remember her treating other kids like that. And I do remember feeling very singled out, kind of like you did, Lucy. And I don't understand. I don't get how teachers think that that's appropriate, especially if you're like in the special education system. Like, your whole thing is that you're supposed to be more accommodating to kids with particular needs, right? So like, what? You kind of lose out on your excuse at that point of like, oh, well, I'm not used to dealing with kids like that. Like, nope, you definitely are. That's sort of what you signed up for. So I don't know, figure that one out. Waffle says, no, I mean, back during segregation, they were teaching segregation. There are teachers these days teaching that. Oh, I see what you mean. Wait, we got teachers these days who are trying to teach segregation? That's ridiculous. All those teachers should have to go get all of their vehicles repaired at a Firestone tire company. They are terrible. They deserve to wait 8 hours to get their vehicle serviced or maintained every time they need to go do that. Oh, teaching the guilt thing. Yeah. It's totally counterintuitive. It just doesn't make any sense. Lucy said, honestly, I don't even know what I did to make her dislike me that much. I don't understand. I don't understand. Maybe you were too nice, Lucy. Maybe you were too understanding. Maybe you knew too much about technology, and she was just like, this person is a threat. We must destroy them now. I don't know. That's wild. Lucy was just too damn great. Get her out of here. See, Lost says, let's say the teacher says you have to eat the ice cream in your sundae from left to right, but your mom says either direction is fine, and your teacher gets angry because your mom said something they don't agree with. Not their kid, but they feel the need to control the child's thoughts and actions more than is appropriate or reasonable. Yeah, and that makes sense. It's like micromanaging for no real purpose, right? Like where is the end benefit from that kind of micromanagement? How does the kid succeed more from eating their ice cream from left to right? Like it doesn't make any sense. They're still gonna be able to eat their ice cream, right? You know? Another example of this is like, so yeah, everybody, like if you ask somebody next time you see them to show you how they tie their shoes. This is a fun experiment. Like when you get an opportunity to ask like 3 different people to show you how they tie their shoes, and come back and tell me what you learn. Because this is funny. I find that like there's a lot of people who, you know, they tie their shoes in the same way. But there's a lot of people who have like their own methodology for tying their shoes, right? Most of us were taught like the bunny ear method when we were kids. And then as we got older, we were taught like the single loop and the wrap around and pull through method, right? But like there are more than one way or more than 2 ways to tie that same knot on your shoe. Or to tie an effective knot on your shoe. And what I've learned is that there are a whole lot of people who tie their shoes in different ways. And most of the time when I see people like tie their shoe in a way that's like different, if someone else sees it, they're like, that's weird. Why do you tie your shoe like that? Why don't you tie your shoe this way? How come you do that? How did you learn that? I've had this happen to me before, right? I remember getting my shoes on. We were getting ready to go out to go somewhere. And a mutual friend was hanging out with us in the apartment before we left. And this was in Albuquerque. I can't remember who it was at this point, but irrelevant to the story. I'm putting my shoes on. I'm tying them. And I remember like, I finished tying my shoes and I looked up and they're just like they were staring at me like I was like an alien, you know? And I just shown them some weird like alien technology that they've never heard of before. They're just like, how did you tie your shoes like that? Why do you tie your shoes like that? They're just like perplexed over this. And I was like, I don't know. It's just how I tie my shoes. Like, how do you tie your shoes? They tied their shoes and I was like, I recognize that method of tying shoes. Cool. What's the issue? You tie your shoes like that. I tie my shoes like this. Cool. Both our shoes are tied. Neat. Like, what's the big deal? Throughout the night, they kept bringing it up. Like, they wouldn't let it go. Why do you tie your shoes like that? Like, who taught you to tie your shoes that way? This is the way you're supposed to tie your shoes. Is the shoe tied, my friend? Why does it matter? Leave it alone. It doesn't matter, man. Ridiculous. The things that some people will get hung up on, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I think that it's sometimes people see or hear these things that like conflict with what they were taught or what they know. And it doesn't matter if like the end result can be the same. If the path to get there was something that's unfamiliar to them, it's like, oh, that's wrong. That can't be done that way because I never thought outside of the way that I do it. Which really, that's what it comes down to, is they never thought how to do something outside of the way that they know how to do it. And so they put up resistance to that. And I don't really understand why the resistance is there. I understand not understanding it, but why defend that there's no other way but your way? Like, that part I don't get. You know what I mean? Like, you've just been demonstrated to that there is another way to do this. You should just be like, oh, that's neat. I didn't know you could do that. Like, that's an appropriate response in my mind, right? You know? But to be like, you can't do that. Did you just see what happened? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I mean, the whole thing is that like, there are so many opportunities for us to learn from each other. If we just let go of like the ego when it comes to these things, I think the problem goes away with how people are approaching things. Unless you're doing something unethical that's like hurting yourself or others, I think that the way that you go about doing something, if it works for you, it works for you. And if you don't understand how someone else does something, and if they're not hurting anybody, they're not hurting themselves, and it works for them, that's an opportunity for you to learn from them. Why throw that opportunity in the garbage? Don't do that. Look at these as opportunities, opportunities to learn, not opportunities to prove other people wrong. Because at the end of the day, if you're just going out there trying to just prove people wrong, what's that really doing? Not a dang thing. All you're doing is stroking your own ego. And that doesn't serve anybody, right? Nobody but yourself. And benefit, the sense of accomplishment for the teacher, I mean. But right, which is the ego thing. Lost said, the benefit is creating a generation that thinks and acts as you wish them to create obedience and lack self-determination. Train them young to accept what they are told by authority. So this is something I like that Lost actually tries to answer the question. I might raise skepticism and point out how ridiculous something is, but Lost, I appreciate that you try and answer the question here and put it into words, because when you put it into words, it sounds ridiculous. Not because you're wrong, but because that's what's behind, I think, a lot of this mentality, is that it's creating, I don't know that it's so sinister per se. I don't know that I would say that it's creating a generation that thinks and acts as you wish them to create obedience and lack of self-determination so that they just accept authority. I think it's to create a generation that thinks and acts as you wish them to because it makes other people feel more comfortable. It makes them feel more comfortable in the world that they live in, because that world that they live in, it stays familiar. It doesn't change. I think that familiarity and comfort are very important to people, and they are really afraid to let go of it. And you see that a lot with older generations, and you'll start to feel it even more as you get older too, where when you start to see the world work in more unfamiliar ways, it creates a weird sort of discomfort. And when you're open-minded, you're more open to these changes, and you're more okay with it. But I think a lot of people, even when they're open-minded, they still feel this weird discomfort. And it's something that they recognize as oh, you know what? I don't really like that, but that's how it is. So I guess that's fine. You learn to live with it. And I think that, a lot of people, they just don't think about it like that. They're like, this doesn't feel comfortable. I should change that to make it feel more comfortable. God forbid I have to grow. But everybody's capable of growth. I don't want to start prattling off as a cynic here and being too cynical. I think that, we're kind of venting a little bit about some of the things that we see, because we've seen some ridiculous things in our lives. And I think it's okay to be able to blow off some steam here in a safe place. But I do want to point out too that still have some hope and some faith in humanity. I've seen people turn things around and do some amazing work. And I've seen people do some real life-changing work on themselves where they're not the same people now that they used to be when I knew them before. And everybody has the potential and the opportunity for that. It's about whether or not they choose to take it. We shouldn't make that decision for them and assume that they are never going to. That doesn't mean that we have to hold our breath and wait for them to, but we should always at least recognize it as a possibility that could happen and be open to that. Which is hard to do when we simultaneously have to choose to not wait around for that person to do that. That's difficult. It's difficult to do both those things at the same time. But the possibility is always there. It's always there. I've seen some people take some rough roads in their lives and then turn out to be really great people. In fact, not that I knew much about his dark, quote unquote, darker past or rough times he'd been through or anything like that. But, the guy we rated last stream, Sir Smock, he was talking about how, he had made some poor decisions and didn't think that he was a very good person some years ago. And, it somehow, in my knowledge of him and my experience with him, I've never met this version of him. The person he is now, I think, is a pretty good person. Seems like a good father, seems to care a lot about other people, has a big heart, is very soft-spoken, seems very kind. To me, that's a person who, if they understand that they themselves were someone who is not what they would consider to be a good person and made some choices that were not great and were bad, and they can still be that person now, they changed that. They worked on themselves. I think it benefits us to believe that people can do that. I'm not telling you that to go and like expect everyone to do it. I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel like other people can't do it because you've seen people drop the ball time and time again. Your experience is valid. What you've seen and what you know, that's absolutely your truth. I'm not telling you to drop that because of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just also, like, with that, keep in mind that people still can change. People still can work and improve and grow. And remember that it's easier for people to do that when there are those in the world who believe in them. And when people can do that, they impact the world around them in a positive way and in a way that creates change that we would like to see. That's more conducive to healthy, happy living in community situations, which at the end of the day, I think that all of us share that goal. We want people to feel like they can be healthy, be comfortable, be safe together, to be able to connect, and to be able to understand and relate with one another. And so I think that believing in people creates opportunities to allow that to happen more often. It doesn't force anyone to take that path, but it makes it a little bit easier. And again, you can do that without altering your life and holding your breath waiting for someone to do it. You know, you can just be like, in the back of your mind, be like, all right, you know, I'm gonna go live my life, but like, they're not doing this thing, and maybe I don't think that their odds of doing this thing will be very high, but they could, you know. Just maybe I'm not gonna be there to see it. You can tie your shoes. Thanks, Lost. Some people do 2 loops, or they're like me and do 1 loop to start it. Yeah, that's what I do, Prince. I do the 1 loop. My shoes are tied. Your shoes are tied. Both shoes are tied. Let it go, bro. What's in the box? Who tied your shoes? You can't do that. I just did. Well, stop it. What's the matter with you? What is this? What? What the hell is this emo? Is that me? Like, it looks like I'm picking my nose. What? No. You bought it with your channel points? I forgot that you could do that with your channel points. You can alter emotes. That's so funny. It's not an overarching grand plot, says Lost. It's a desire by some to know what the world, or that the world has an order, a sense of stability that will keep them safe. Right. And that's very important for people. And I get it. You know, all of us desire some stability, you know, and I think we have every right to. But we should also understand that, like, stability is finite. Like, everything in this world is temporary. If there's one thing that's always true forever, it's that nothing lasts forever. And that's okay. That's weird for people to think about. It seems like it's very foreboding and cynical and whatever. But no, I think it's one of the things that makes life beautiful, because if everything lasted forever, things would lose its value, in my opinion. And the fact that something could be finite means that it's something worth cherishing. So, you know, when we talk about that in the sense of comfort and stability, like, cherish the times in your life where things are comfortable and stable, where you don't have to work very hard to be happy and feel joy. those times in our lives are great. You have too much of that where there's no stimulus anymore. You're not having to work very hard on anything. You grow stagnant. You kind of can become bitter, you know? You're not growing anymore. And what happens is that you notice the world around you has continued to change and you don't recognize it. And that makes you feel scared and frustrated. And then that's where a lot of these negative behaviors and feelings will start to come from. And you start to blame things and people outside of yourself for it, when really it's just that you haven't been growing alongside it because you're not doing the work. And that's okay to feel frustrated about that, but start doing the work, you know? And if you get to a point in your life where you're like, you know what, I'm done doing the work, cool. Then understand that you're gonna stay where you're at and that the world's gonna keep changing around you, and just learn to accept it. And don't, you know, judge other people for being different. Don't try to control people for being different. Don't try to make the world the same for you. Like, learn to just be comfortable with the fact now that your world is different than the rest of the world, and that's okay. You know, you're gonna go outside and feel uncomfortable. You know, you're gonna see what people are talking about online. You're not gonna get it. That's fine. You know, keep your circle of friends, keep people that are close to you who like you feel comfortable with, and that's fine. You know, we're all gonna get to that point where we're like, we don't want to work super hard anymore. Like, I wouldn't expect anybody that's like old and has put in their time and done a lot in their life to feel like they constantly have to stay like in the loop, right? I don't want to be 70 years old and feel like I have to stay in the loop and like current with trends and stuff like that all the time. It sounds exhausting. I would like to be able to do that, but if I find myself in a position where that's not what I value when I'm at that point in my life, the last thing I want to be is a person who expects the rest of the world to cater to that. Like, I have to learn to be comfortable with that. And I think that's fair, you know, because nothing's gonna stay the same forever. Check out where it bursts. Why are there the sunglasses up there? What the? Those aren't eyes. Is that where it expects eyes to be? Oh my goodness. What if I wore my glasses up there? Let's see, there we go. Now I'm my emote. Am I cool now? Yeah. What? Why is this smushed? Oh, that's silly. Twitch. Draw me. This is how it was always intended to be. They should have like a better AI that handles that. That's pretty goofy. Or at the very least, allow you to like place it where it should be. You know, when you buy it with your points. It's pretty funny. Oh man. Does it just always place it in the same spot? I think so. I'm assuming that though. I don't know because I haven't used it myself. Twitch, draw me like one of your French fries. Do it. Do it. Oh, let's see. There's not a lot of other people doing stuff right now. Hey, anybody checked out more of Storm the Bard's content recently? He's the dude that I introduced everybody to a little while back, who does like digital photography. He was playing Death Stranding. I didn't realize that guy was like so serious about it. The digital photography, that is. And I think it's awesome. Like, he has a whole website dedicated around it. It's like his passion project right now. I think I'm gonna take us by there when we wrap up here. It just places them? That's silly. That is stinky. Highlight stinky. Oh man. All right, you know what though? I think we're gonna wrap up here. We done about a 4-hour stream today. And Had a really good conversation. My voice is getting worn out. I don't know if you guys can tell that, but I'm sort of drying out over here. I gotta rest it. So we're gonna call it here. My goal is to be live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. With that in mind, sometimes I will be traveling out of town for my job. Sometimes I'll have meetings to attend and stuff like that. So depending on when those meetings are, I might not be able to be live on at 5 o'clock on some of those days. So I'm gonna be monitoring things over the next like couple months to see like what my schedule usually lines up like, and you know, see where my time slots are gonna be. But those are gonna be the days that I'm going to be trying to go live. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, tentatively scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So today's the 23rd. And let's see, what am I looking at here? We've got, so I have, at least as of right now, I'm gonna have Tuesday available at 5. So I'm gonna try to be live at 5 p.m. this Tuesday. I've got Thursday and Saturday open too. If anything changes, I'll keep you guys in the loop and let you know via Twitter and Discord. So definitely check us out there. Plus it's a good way to keep up with, you know, what's going on in the community in between streams, and to just reconnect with everybody that we end up hanging out with here throughout the week. Also, don't forget that we have a dedicated channel to peer support within our Discord server called Peer to Peer. So if you find yourself going through a tough time throughout the week, say, you know, something's going on in the relationship, something's going on with a friend, maybe you just had a bad mental health day and you're feeling really depressed, please feel free to reach out to us in Discord, peer to peer. You can post whatever you need to post, whatever you want to post. You can even just go there to blow off some steam. There'll be people in the community who, you know, will want to talk with you and at the very least, be able to see what you're going through and provide some comfort and support for you. Okay. Remember, you guys are never alone out there. That's what part of this community is all about, is we get to be there for each other. With that in mind, like I said, check out Discord, check out Twitter. We also have Facebook and Instagram, all at Finchchild LLG. Links are there in the chat for you. We're getting ready to do a raid here on Storm the Bard. So get ready for that. I'm gonna go ahead and set that up right now and check it out. We've got our raid call here in the chat. You can go ahead and copy pasta that, or you can type in your own unique creative raid chat, whatever works for you. We just want to get in there and show Storm the Bard some love and give him some LLG support. So thank you guys so much for being here today and participating in such an awesome discussion. Now, you guys are very bright, intelligent people, and I appreciate so much what you guys bring to our conversations each time we're live. Thanks again to Ash for providing such a beautiful question. This is very insightful. Some of us had some positive experiences alongside the negative experiences with the pandemic, and it's been kind of cool to hear all about that. If you want to be featured, remember, you can post your viewer QOD. Sorry. You can post your idea in the Discord server, in the QOD channel. All right, guys. Thanks again to NRF for following the channel, and to all the subscribers out there. Thank you so much for supporting what we do here. I appreciate the love. Until next time, you guys, keep your heads up and your hearts strong, and we'll see you next time on Fence TV. Be well.